we are live. Come on, come all. Nothing but love, nothing but respect. You know what we do, what we don't, what we is, what we isn't, and what we is here today, bringing you guys and girls the One Piece chapter 1094 live discussion. I've got with me at the moment Eggs for Brekkie, aka Daniel. Say hello.
Hello.
And I've also got Kuma, who may be in now or may be in a second. I haven't 100% confirmed, but he's going to be hopping in.
I am here now. Hello.
Perfect. We got Kuma the Strawman, and then later on, we're going to have young Two-Face also stop by to talk about the craziness that is this chapter, and crazy this chapter was indeed. So many theories, so many details, so much craziness to talk about, and I genuinely just have to start this stream by saying, and you guys can disagree with me if you want, it feels like we're getting to a whole new scale of power scaling in One Piece, because it feels like we've opened the doors to a whole new level.
Yeah, I mean, since Kobe, I feel like everything has gone up a notch. Since we saw Kobe do that mad feat that he did, it's just like everything is huge.
See, and I love it, and I also love the idea that we're just getting so many more of these like big moments pushing forward, if that makes sense. It definitely raises the stakes, especially since, and I'm just trying to find it at the moment, especially since we're at a point now where theories are coming true, but because we're in the final saga, but also because Oda was like, yo, for those of you that don't like One Piece, just start at Wano and you'll pretty much get enough of the gist of it to enjoy it. Says to me, really, that like everything prior to this has just been like relative setup. But like now that we're starting to actually see these characters and see their like powers fleshed out and that, it really is completely different to what we've seen up until now in the story. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm really curious.
Literally everything before the time skip, you can consider it as a prequel.
Yeah. Yeah, like at this point, straight up.
I'm curious to see if Oda is going to like describe, kind of like catch people up when he's talking about future things. Like when he talks about things like the Will of D and Joy Boy and stuff. Like I wonder if he's gonna kind of explain it again almost so that people can sort of catch up.
Yeah, I definitely feel like there's going to be some important stuff with that. They're just going to they're going to outright spoon feed us a little bit, but also give us all the information that we've been waiting on for 25 years.
Especially with the anime, I think it's pretty good because on the anime they can sort of like they can do a lot of flashbacks because they kind of have to for time purposes.
Yeah.
So like, you know, when we meet Crocodile again, they can do a whole flashback for Luffy beating up Crocodile and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You can kind of recap how we know these characters.
Gomu Gomu no Storm and the new Wano Roof Piece animation.
Oh yeah, 100%. So this leads us
I
to...
just want to say though, despite all of this amazing stuff and power scaling, Helmeppo still doesn't have a feat.
Hey, he stopped cannonballs without dying. Considering where he started the series,
He jumped in front of them.
considering where he started the series, him not dying from an actual cannonball is actually impressive.
I'm just saying, Potter does that almost 24/7.
Okay, put it this way. My expectations for Helmeppo at the very end of the series is to be just a little bit stronger than Axehand Morgan. That's it.
Oh, okay. I would have hoped to be pretty good.
I wanted it to at least be on like Tashigi's level or something.
See,
I'm hoping for Vice Admiral.
I'm thinking genuinely, come end of the series, he's either going to be captain or one rank above captain, because the whole point of his story is going to come full circle in some epilogue type shit. He's going to capture Morgan, and that's it. That's his big feat. That's his big defining moment. No longer being a 30-year-old virgin living at home off daddy's money, which he was, right? Like we forget this man is older than he looks, or younger and older than he looks. Helmeppo's a weird creature, right? He's a weird creature. Although I love him in the live action, I hate him, but I love him. Like
Actually, I was not disappointed with Helmeppo's casting.
They nailed Helmeppo's cast, like absolutely nailed it.
Moving on.
We have a color spread associated with this chapter. This is a tie-in for the One Piece Monsters tie-in anime OVA or anime special, where we're going to get an animated version of Ryuma's backstory, Once again, implying that the monster's story is still outright canon to the world of One Piece with no altercations, right? But this cover is actually a really interesting thing because it actually shows us all the known members of the Shimotsuki family, right? So we've got Zoro's master, his father, Kuina over on the right. We know that Zoro has a long line of ancestries and is actually cousins to Kuina, right? We see down the bottom, I'm forgetting his name, Yasui, Ryuma, and it is Ushimaru, right?
Yeah, the prisoner who was with Yamato.
But up the top left, and this is what I'm actually really excited about, up the top left, we see another character off in the distance. This is Roanoa Ashari, Zoro's father.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Which also, if you look at everyone else, it's showing them in their actual colors. Zoro's daddy's ginger.
So he must have. So his mom must have married. Wait, no. So his mom must have been a greenie.
Well, let's look up the Zoro family tree. Because I don't remember.
Long lost cousin.
I mean, in situations like this, heck, we still don't. I mean,
we know.
Heck, we don't even know who Nami's father is.
I mean, we don't know who Nami's biological mother is.
Yep.
So Zoro's father is Roanoa Arashi and Terra. Zoro's grandfather is Roanoa Pinzoro and Shimotsuki Furukyo, who is the sister of Shimotsuki Ushimaru. Right? So Ushimaru is Zoro's great uncle or grand uncle, right? Which makes sense. Like, they look really similar, but Zoro's got the green hair, he's got the blue hair. The Shimotsuki having blue hair, though, does seem like their green hair comes from Arashi's side in that sense. But that being said, we actually haven't ever seen any of them coloured in before. This is the first time we've seen them coloured in. So yes. I guess the red and the blue mix meant to get purple, but apparently in Zoro's case, you get green.
I mean, anime logic, man. I mean, in some other animes and mangas, you can have parents with a different hair color, but then the kid somehow gets half of one color and half of the other.
Also, this is where we get to some other filthiness, right? This is where we get to a little bit of my bullshit power scaling questioning here.
Oh, great.
Alright? So look at Zoro in this color spread. Something I noticed that was very, very interesting. So he's using his King of Hell and like his King of Hell form, his Advanced Conqueror's Haki form, and it's the attack that he does to beat King, right? But if you actually look at the swords, we get an interesting amount of detail coming off all the swords. For example, the Conqueror's Haki flows from the base of the sword to the tip of the sword for all of the swords except the Wado Ichimonji, where it actually looks like the Conqueror's Haki is coming more from his scabbard than the actual sword. If that makes sense.
Oh, I see. So it's like from the scabbard, it's reaching out to the blade instead of coming out of Zoro's fists.
Yeah.
And because if you look at the green flame on Zoro's handle, like on his purple handle, I see what you mean.
So if you look at it, right, listing all the swords, you have Enma, which is that middle sword that has the green energy flowing off it, which we know steals more Haki from Zoro. If you notice, the Sandai Kitetsu has one green flame around it, and the Conqueror's Haki coming off it, the same as Enma, but Enma has all the green flame coming off it.
Yeah.
Right? And then the Wado Ichimonji, the Straight Road of Peace, actually doesn't have any Conquerors coming off it, but instead has a little bit of Conquerors coming around it.
Well, yeah, to be fair, I think a lot of people forget too that Kuina's sword that she passed down to Zoro. It's a high grade sword, but it's not one of like the highest tiers, right?
It's on the same tier as Enma.
Oh, it is. Oh, dear, never mind.
But because of Enma, we now know that swords of these tiers have different effects. One effect that we actually sort of overlooked was, if you look at Ryuma there, the Shisui blade, when Zoro first picks it up, when he tries to attack, Shisui actually absorbed the attacks of his other swords to amplify its own. Back in Thriller Bark, he tries to do he tries to do multiple projectile sword slashes, and Shisui actually eats up all the projectile sword slashes, making it stronger, and actually leaves a crescent moon or Shimotsuki slash.
Okay.
It's a little detail, but the reason why I want to bring it up is because I'm wondering if Zoro's other swords, more specifically the Wado here, is going to have its own effect that we just haven't been made aware of presently in the story, but it has been doing stuff behind the scenes for Zoro, if that makes sense. Could be a bit of a reach, but I'm just going based on the visual drawn by Oda here.
It's nothing bad. It's just like, in a sense though, I kind of mostly like maybe... Because I've, like, again, the grade of that sword is amazing, but I've always thought of it more like... It's more so what, like, Kuina's ideals that Zoro's decided to literally carry.
So it's less his sword, more Kuina's sword.
Yeah, it's kind of like, oh, hello?
Is that... We also have...
Alright, I heard a notification.
Yep, no, it's alright. We've got Young in here too now as well, which just made me realize to double check that I had you guys unmuted, because I don't want a repeat of the last time where I accidentally had everyone muted for half an hour.
Dang.
Did not make my stream feel super productive, not gonna lie. But yeah, so I'm looking at this at the moment, and like if you go back into the Kaido fight and stuff like that, you actually can see that a lot of the time Zoro has aura around him, but it's only ever coming off Enma. So I think it's definitely showing that Enma is drawing out more Haki than the others. But then the Sandai Kitetsu, which is supposed to be his weakest sword, is behaving the next closest to Enma, whereas the Wado's behaving a little bit oddly. At least here. You know what I mean?
Actually, quick question, just to revamp my lore. What's the significance of that black dragon in the back?
Ryuma, his entire story, his one-shot in Monsters, is that he killed a dragon that was terrorizing Wano.
Oh, okay. And I guess that's the dragon then.
Yeah, which was a natural Western dragon.
I just also want to point out that Oda decided to use a blank font, which also happens to be the same like color type that the Five Elders decided to turn into as well.
Wait, the color font where? What?
I mean, like, you know how the Five Elders turned into like those shadowy forms, and this dragon's like full on black.
Right. Okay, I didn't pick up on that. No, I get that. I get that. I like that. I like that a lot, actually. That being said, sliding into the beginning of the chapter, we have the first two panels being flashback, directly referencing Vegapunk giving the orders, and us once again seeing the hierarchy of the control chips. And we get the longest chapter title I think we've ever gotten in One Piece. Saint J. Garcia Saturn of the Five Elders, the defense science warrior god.
Bars right there.
Bro,
What's up, Turtle Hermit?
Yeah, it's good to hear.
Oh yeah, what's up?
Good timing. We've only just gotten into the chapter. It took us all this time just to get through the cover page.
Sorry if I sound weird. I'm getting over a little bit of a cold.
No, that's perfectly fine. Alright.
Nothing that auto-tune can't fix.
Let's dive into this, because this chapter, holy shit, this chapter has so much in it.
Yeah.
We start off, Vegapunk gives the orders, all the pacifists swap, right? They start turning on the Marines, and on some Private Ryan type shit, we've got the Marines just hiding from bombardment. I absolutely love how menacing the pacifistas are still being here. Again, they're not being used to their full capacities yet, but it is like I love that they are working as genuinely the change of tide in this battle. Whoever controls the pacifistas clearly looks like they're winning. You know what I mean?
Right.
Then we get the Vegapunks come flying down, screaming out their shit. Sanji, again, can sense where any freaking woman is on an island.
What do you call it? The Femdar or something?
Yeah, it's the Femdar. 100%.
Gotta be careful with that, though.
See, that's why I said it's the Femdar. The reason being, he doesn't care as long as they're, like, feminine presenting. Because he did the same thing with Okiku.
Yes.
So, this man just feels the heart of a maiden. Right? But,
We got a new level of hockey. It's just very, very narrow.
So, we see him jump off this Vegatank 8, right? And he does this zigzag. This zigzag, like, we've actually only seen 3 other people do this or something similar to this in the entirety of the series. Is that not weird to say? I feel like we've seen this sort of thing over and over and over, but the only 3 people to actually showcase this, apart from Sanji in this chapter, is Ulti with the Ulti Mortar, and she doesn't use it every time. It was only specifically when she had to go cross a great distance. Garp when he fought Pizarro, and the only other person to show something similar to this is Rob Lucci's Razor technique.
Oda doesn't like zigzags. I see what you mean.
Well, it's not quite the same as, like, disappearing and reappearing with what we see with, like, Shave. It's just outright, like, extreme movement, but it's like, we're shown it's actually, like, a huge feat of strength, because, like, when we see Garp do it, he's, like, knocking over buildings when he's jumping off them. You know? So it's like, it's an ability that high speed users have when they're not using high speed, if that makes sense. They're still fast though. But then we dip over to one of my favorite segments of this chapter. We get the Bonnie shit. Can we all agree at this point in time that Bonnie just needs to come with the Straw Hats? Can she
Definitely.
Can she just be our next female member, please? At this point.
I mean, if she does that NDE pose with Frankie, she's pretty much in.
I just want my boy Sanji to get some love. He cooks, she eats. It's a match made in heaven, right?
Oh, rest in peace, Pudding.
I mean, imagine the hate Pudding and Bonnie would have, or even worse yet, Pudding gets mad. Bonnie accidentally reverts Sanji, and then Sanji remembers what happened before his memories were taken.
Duh. Wait. Oh, actually, would that actually work?
Well, her ability isn't age related. It seems to be fate based. Like, she can change the trajectory of, like, possibilities, if that makes sense.
Almost like if you look at the good timeline of the Straw Hats and the bad timeline.
Yeah.
Type thing, you mean?
Which,
like, it's not necessarily like she's aging you up from how you are right now. It's like she could control where she's aging you up at. Like her, I forget what she calls it, but oh yeah, distorted future, where she turns all muscular.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, so I think from that regard, she possibly could, like, change someone's memories like that. Like, she could make someone revert pre and post Devil Fruit, which would be interesting to see if she could do it to Brooke.
Oh, but could you imagine that feeling of having your skin and, like, organs being forced to sprout back?
Well, a good question there would be if she does it. Okay, she says a lot of the time her abilities have a time limit on them, right?
Yeah.
But if she was able to do it for a permanent standpoint, if she did it to Brooke, could Brooke die again and resurrect again?
I'm just wondering about that ability, because you see when she uses the NDE on this random Marine soldier?
Yep.
Like, he gets hit, he turns into a skeleton, and he screams out in either shock or pain. I'm assuming pain and a little bit of shock. because he does come back.
See,
when he faints.
I view the NDE bullet here as his perspective is he turned into the skeleton, but he didn't actually. So like what I'm thinking is happening here, it's the near death experience is they're experiencing what it would like to actually die. Like they're going completely through the experience of them passing away. Right?
Right.
But it's only their internal experience. It's not like an actual physical
Pain.
external experience. Yeah. Which is why this ability, like Bonnie is so lucky Big Mum didn't capture her and Perona, because could you imagine Bonnie shooting you with the near death experience, right? Perona making you depressingly scared of it, and Big Mum just absorbing your souls just because you're just in a constant state of fear. And that combo attack could technically work against anyone. Because it bypasses your willpower there. Because it makes you experience something and then it forces you to be scared of it.
Right.
It'd be ridiculous. It'd be ridiculous to say the least. But
do you think Bonnie's ability would also like revert people from damage? Like let's say if she like used it on Aokiji, would he get his leg back?
Yes. If she's got a distorted future, could she have a distorted past ability?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Also, Oda really...
that would be kind of OP though. That would be like an instant heal kind of technique.
I know this is
but it's only limited.
Yeah, I know this is veering a little off track, but like you know when Akainu encountered Bonnie, right, on that island after Blackbeard ditched her.
Yep.
I always assumed that maybe Bonnie might have increased Akainu's age by like maybe a decade, so that he would have been stronger than Aokiji when he went for that title bout for the head of the Admiral Marines.
I don't know. I don't know if Akainu has like. It'd be interesting if that was the case, but I don't think Akainu's thought process is like that. Like, no offense to Akainu, I think he believes his own hype enough that he won't look for other ways to get stronger.
Yeah, because he's confident already.
Yeah. And I mean, at the moment, like, shit, what does he not have to be confident about? Like, we've seen his Hellhound attack, and I'll get into that a bit later, but his Hellhound attack alone has, like, an area of effect that just, like, incinerates anything.
And he always goes for the face.
Yeah. Man is Thanos' worst nightmare. But yeah, just gotta point out again, Egghead has been the most booty pick related arc in One Piece. Like Oda really went, we're getting to the final saga, time to move from the chest and down to the rump.
He draws it any time he can. I don't know if you've seen the pictures of his like version of the manga. Yeah. But you'll see it where like he'll like still draw like the booty pick right underneath where the panel ends.
Behind the clouds and stuff like that.
Yeah, we need an Oda cut of Egghead, bro.
Which sidebar, right? Is Bonnie really Kuma's daughter? Because she's got cake, and no offense, but he has no cake.
Right.
Like she
yeah.
She got.
What if she got the cake from Big Mom?
No.
Oh, could you imagine? Could you
imagine
Big Mom meeting Kuma out on a like romantic night? You know
how Oda like draws characters when they're 60? Imagine he draws Bonnie and he just draws Big Mom.
No. Oh, okay, in that case, would Bonnie be Big Mum's failed clone from the Rocks?
Okay, well,
I mean, I would honestly believe it.
Oh god!
Like, would Bonnie be Kuma's daughter because he adopted her from Vegapunk, just like how Stussy is like the bastardized version of Buckin, and Weevil is potentially the Whitebeard one?
I'd believe it, especially since she grew up on Punk Hazard, or seemed to grow up on Punk Hazard. We seen her like in a flashback. I think it was 20 years ago, right?
It would be interesting as well if she had the same like hunger affliction that Big Mom had, and then that gives Chopper a chance to find a cure for it. Because remember, everyone's saying that like Chopper is supposed to be able to cure anything, so he's probably going to find a cure to Big Mom's, but that never happened. So this would kind of give Chopper an example, a way to show off his
Do you know what?
medical expertise.
Guess who we haven't seen since Bonnie has gotten friendly with everyone? Zeus.
True.
Oh,
And Zeus would be able to sense Big Mum's life force, right?
Oh, it would be good, yeah, if he came out and was like, "Mom, is that you?"
would be a good way to do it, actually.
I don't know. I honestly, I think it's too much of a like. It's too out there. It won't happen. But if it did, I'm like, shit. Okay. Not how I expected it to play out, but damn. I mean, look, young Big Mum's still, she's still a baddie in her own right. Does that mean Bonnie can grow up like super tall? Okay. Let's get into these Vice Admirals now, right? We only get the name of one Vice Admiral this chapter, but we see the abilities of two of them, right? First off, we've got the guy that looks like Hulk Hogan fighting with a clamshell on a big staff, right?
Right.
We later see him trying to attack Bonnie, and we see he has an otter zone. So he's an otter man. I'm really curious because we've got very few devil fruits and zones that may let you swim. But there
Right.
are some that will let you swim in some capacity. If that makes sense. Right?
So you think if he gets in the water, he might have a chance of being able to like actually swim?
What if he works like Saruman Wolf, where he lays his belly on the water and the tail just swims for him, and because of that, he's not submerged enough for the devil fruit to not work?
Wait, what? Wait, otters are waterproof, right?
Yeah.
What if he
Yeah.
gets like waterproofed, almost like a bubble, by like the fur? So like he's not actually touching the water, so he can actually still swim.
It'd be interesting. Because, like, there are so few devil fruits that have the potential to swim. Right? Like, you got the swim fruit, that's obvious, but it doesn't work in water. You got Aokiji's fruit that
No.
freezes, but it doesn't actually, like, it's not water anymore, it's ice. You've got Brooks, who lets you run on water. We never saw Peckham's try to swim, even though he got
No.
thrown in the ocean, but he's a turtle zone.
Right.
So it's like, we're getting closer and closer. Like Kaido, for example, right? Couldn't, like, we never saw him try to swim, but he also had the fish fruit. So it's like, we're getting more and more of these, like, aquatic or
And it was
amphibious zones.
fish model dragon, so that means there has to be more fish fruits.
Yeah. So, it'd be funny, though, if the fish fruits don't actually allow swimming. It just turns you into the
They
fish
just
and
turn
you
you
can't
into.
breathe. It
You
making
start flopping on the deck.
it makes them either it's like essentially having the fishman fruit, or you turn into your full zone form and you just can't breathe, and you're just stuck flopping on land. But yeah, I really like the otter zone, dude. I reckon it's a cool design. I was not expecting it from the dude with the long blonde hair, which makes me question whether or not his otter is going to be like a golden otter, kind of looking like the golden great apes in Dragon Ball.
Right.
But I also like that he fights with a clamshell because, otters crack clamshells on their stomach.
Yep.
But then going back a bit, we have the Vice Admiral that I now have to see a bad, like, a buddy cop duo between her and Suru. Right? I need a Bluegrass and Suru adventure dealing with like a high tier opponent. Right? Because Suru,
It's the bondage fruit and the ride fruit together. The most iconic duo.
well, see, this ride fruit is broken, right? Because if you actually look at what's happening, she's spawning a steering wheel out the back of the pacifistas,
Right.
right? The pacifistas are still organic beings.
Right.
So she could seemingly ride and drive and control any organic and non-organic material. Meaning, just like Suru, if she touches you, it's a one-shot KO unless you have like a specific type of haki. Because she just gains control over your body.
Right.
Like,
Almost like that. Who was it on Hachinosu with the whip fruit? I forgot her name. Almost like that.
Yeah, 100% like that. Right? Which I love how all the, like, I don't love it actually, because I kind of want to see some more, like, I hope Vice Admiral Dole either has a zone or doesn't have a devil fruit and is just a fucking haki beast, because I love the fact that all the ladies in One Piece have got these ridiculous one-shot KO abilities, but at the same point in time, I want to see some fucking female brawlers. Right?
Right.
I want to see, like, I want Dole at her. She's doing her kicks, make her the female Sanji. Make her throw in hands. I just... Otherwise, it's like too ambiguous with the sense where it's just like they either one-shot KO you or they just get completely overwhelmed. And there's like no in-between at the moment. Right? But think of Bluegrass here, right? She grabs a pacifista, overrides its commands from Vegapunk, and while driving it, she doesn't have to do anything but think about using its abilities, and it attacks how she wants it to attack.
Yeah, that's really crazy, actually.
Now imagine if she grabs Zoro, and all of a sudden she's sending out fucking, triclism flying slashes and shit like that.
Yeah, just 360-pound cannons, like no cap.
Yeah. And it's like because she's operating the person, it's like we don't know if she can force them past their normal limit, like driving a rundown car that you know is about to break. You know what I mean? Because like imagine her trying to make someone do like a haki projectile slash after they've run out of haki, and then like
yeah. Oops, sorry. Go ahead.
I don't know. I love her ability. I was not expecting anything from her, I'm not gonna lie. But this ability's amazing.
What do you mean you weren't expecting anything, bro? She's a shrunken old woman in a fighting manga. Of course she's gonna be OP as heck.
mean, the last time
Right.
the last two times we got shrunken old women, right? One of them just proceeded to talk a lot of shit and smack her son in the knees, and the other one fell for Boa Hancock after trying to rip her clothes off. Right? The shrunken old women in One Piece.
No, what about Empress Neo? And she got thrown out of an entire building and she landed upright.
Again, she also got beat down by Boa, right?
Well.
And I mean, look, I you know me, I'm represent the Boa fandom, right? Boa for
True.
Boa and Robin for life, but right. I wasn't expecting much from her. I wasn't expecting much from any of the Vice Admirals, but I'm glad that we're getting a little bit from them. And I think that each chapter going forward, we're going to get one or two of the Vice Admirals have a little bit of a showcasing in the background like this. And I'm kind of like, I don't know who I'm more excited for out of the Vice Admirals, because I don't know who I want to see. But like, I kind of really want to see Doberman and Dole fight at this point. Those are the two I'm like holding out hope for.
Yeah.
Definitely Doll. I don't know about Doberman because he's like. Have we ever seen him do any feats like Marineford or anything? No, I'm thinking of T-Bone, huh? Yeah, T-Bone cut the sea train, huh?
Doberman showed up in the Buster Call for Annie's lobby,
right?
And didn't do anything. And he showed up in Marineford where he fought some of the Whitebeard pirates, like the commanders sort of people off screen,
right,
and cut down like cannonballs with the rest of the Vice Admirals. Apart from that, we haven't seen Doberman do anything on screen.
It's just
I'm pretty hyped to see him because he was one of the only people who did know that Saturn was even on the fleet
See,
that's at Egghead right now.
I think that's interesting, and we'll get into that a little bit later because I think that actually comes with what Saturn's powers are as well. Because I'm we're getting into some red hot territory here. Does anyone want to say anything about Bluegrass before we just jump into the elephant in the room?
Okay, so for Bluegrass, I feel like her Devil Fruit ability, it's a lot more direct, but it's also somewhat like a nerfed version of Gecko Moria's Shadow Fruit.
Okay.
When you think about it, because again, she has to be, from the looks of it, she has to be in contact, but at the same time, she has access to all of the model's experiences and powers. The only thing is, she has to be attached to it. So in a way, it is kind of a nerfed down version of Gecko Moria's Fruit, as instead of like somehow getting salt down the mummy's throat,
You just gotta knock her off.
you just gotta snipe. Like Bluegrass's ultimate enemy is snipers.
I like that though.
So do you think Bluegrass might be able to like take command from the Gorosei
Yep.
of the Pacifista?
Yep.
I mean, not Pacifista, the Seraphim.
Yeah, 100%. If she touches one of them, she's controlling them because we're already seeing her do it now and overriding Vegapunk.
That's crazy. So even if like, say Boa, like, does like whatever Luffy needs again, like she did last time, even if she does that, then I mean, if Bluegrass rides her, then we're all Gucci on the Marine side.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Which is the terrifying thing here. Especially since, right? She's not operating smart here because why doesn't she just put the pacifista bubble shield around her while she's riding him?
Oh yeah, true.
Because she could arguably make herself invulnerable here.
Oh, maybe she doesn't want to use it because like it'll weaken her since she is a devil fruit user because of course
True, because it's got sea stone properties.
yeah. So maybe it's just like her being in the vicinity might weaken her devil fruit powers or something.
I could definitely see that being a possibility. That being said, we get to the point. Sanji swoops up Bonnie. The whack and otter attack comes flying down.
I love the name of that attack.
Oh, 100%. Vegapunk and Sanji and Bonnie all meet back up, and then they escape from that scene, and we cut over to the next part of Luffy versus Kizaru. Now, I have seen a lot of people complain that they just are super disappointed with the Luffy versus Kizaru thing. I fucking love this fight.
Yeah, I loved it, bro. Especially since, bro, I knew Luffy would be at least equal. And I kind of feel like that's exactly what Oda was going for with the ending.
I think...
Because, like, he's not necessarily going to show us who's stronger, but I think Luffy was shown to be at least equal, if not greater than, because he did kind of one-shot Kizaru, while the only reason he fell was because he was just experiencing the normal side effects of Gear 5.
I will say, I don't think that shot took out Kizaru at all. I think he's literally up next chapter, no problem. I don't think that did any damage to him significantly.
Like a Rob Lucci, I'm losing consciousness type thing?
I don't even think that happened. I think it literally just pushed him over to the side and Luffy fell out of Gear 5. But the point for that was specifically to give them a bit of a fight together, but then ultimately put Luffy in front of Saturn because he falls in front of Saturn, and it moves Kizaru over to where Zoro versus Rob Lucci is.
Ooh.
Which allows...
So we might actually get Kizaru and Lucci versus Zoro, maybe?
I'm thinking... Probably...
Kizaru is kind of a... Oh, go ahead.
I'm thinking probably what happens is Kizaru wakes up, sees he's near Zoro, right? Goes to go back and help Luffy... Kizaru goes to go take out Luffy again because he's in front of Saturn. And Kizaru's... It's very important to note, right? Luffy versus Kizaru... The fight ends with Luffy teasing a bit of his advanced conquerors and mission haki, right?
Right.
Kizaru still is yet to show any form of haki.
Oh yeah, that's true. He hasn't even shown like any observation haki, really.
Yeah, and the thing that's getting me with this, right, is the chapter that hints of what the end of this event is going to be specifically states that Kizaru's role on this mission is to just be Saturn's bodyguard.
Right.
So I think Kizaru's going to go after Saturn to help stop Luffy. Zoro's going to throw a projectile slash at him with Advanced Conqueror's Haki. And then Kizaru's going to go, right, I'll deal with you quickly. Lucci, you go deal with them. Right?
Right.
Lucci's going to leave the Zoro battle. And on his way, going to be intercepted by Jinbei. Sanji is going to sense that Zoro is fighting Kizaru and go help Zoro. 2v1.
Yo, that would make sense if Lucci fights Jinbei, because Who's Who was like, wasn't he almost exactly like Lucci? It was like he was the prodigy, like second to Lucci.
He said he had the same potential as Lucci, but Lucci just got to stay in CP9 where he didn't. Right? And Jinbei one-shot Who's Who. But it took him a while to land a hit. So I think this would be the first time Jinbei's had a fight that actually pushes him to grow since Ace.
Definitely, yeah, because I really don't think that he'd be able to break Lucci's finger the same way he did with Who's Who, like at all.
And in that situation as well, if it's Sanji and Zoro versus Kizaru, the Sanji and Zoro there, it's going to be very similar to Kid and Law versus Big Mom, where they're both just getting overwhelmed, but trying something new each time.
I can't wait. If that's what happens, I can't wait, because that's like almost like a Goku and Vegeta type thing. Like, they don't ever really want to work together, but when they do, like, actually work together fighting as a team, like, it's one of the best things ever. Like, when they worked together for, like, what was it, 30 seconds during Long Ring Longland?
They just absolutely blasted it. Like, they low-diffed a giant in, like, 10 seconds. But what I will say, right? So Kizaru is in a really interesting state at the moment, where Luffy went into his bag to pull out moves before Kizaru did. So it's implying that Kizaru has the advantage, right? Like, Luffy went to Snake Man, couldn't keep up. Luffy goes to Gear 5, gets a few hits out. Luffy has to pull out his Advanced Conqueror's Haki, gets a hit out, right? Kizaru's still fighting just in base. You know what I mean? So it definitely implies, especially if Kizaru has an awakening, it definitely implies that, like, Kizaru has the advantage here. So I do think that this Egghead incident is going to appear like we're going to get overwhelmed before we get out. But it's going to be, again, like, we're close enough that it's not like it was at Saturday. Like, we didn't get everyone deleted one by one by one by one. It was, we were putting up a fight, but we we're probably going to lose.
Right.
If that makes sense. But with Kizaru here, like, when we first cut to this scene, look at that first panel of Luffy versus Kizaru. Luffy's swinging his arms around and his leg around, trying to kick Kizaru. But Kizaru, you got to look at this. It's either Kizaru's using advanced armament and mission here for the first time in their fight, or he's completely blocking Luffy with a light shield.
Right.
And it definitely seems like it's a light, because you can see the light flashing towards it, if that makes sense. Right? So it still implies Kizaru's got a lot in his bag here. But it puts us in a hard spot, because it's like Luffy wasn't taking this fight super serious. And to be honest, Kizaru wasn't taking this fight super serious either. Right? It was both of them just trying to, like, get in each other's way.
Right.
If it swaps over to Sanji and Zoro versus Kizaru, though, I see it being the same thing, where Kizaru doesn't pull out his, like... So you know how Big Mom really could have just whipped out Advanced Conqueror's Haki and just beaten the shit out of Kid and Law? I'm worried
Right.
that Kizaru would be in the same position where it's like he doesn't need to pull anything more out of his bag than what he did against Luffy to fight Zoro and Sanji, if that happens. But they can bloom enough to get a cheeky TKO out in that situation. Potentially.
Right. Yeah, I really doubt that. I mean, we might still lose, but I really doubt that it's gonna be like a big like Sabaody type loss where we just like lose outright
No,
completely.
it's definitely not. Yeah.
I instead of it
Yeah.
being a lose completely, I see it more being a we're probably gonna lose, but everything worked out for us, unlike Sabaody, where nothing worked out for us.
Right.
I feel like it's more so just hold your ground long enough until we can bail.
Yeah.
That's really the definition of this right now. Because
Also, I feel like. Oh, go ahead.
oh no, it's
I
just
don't mean to
because
cut off.
again, since we've been given Luffy versus Kizaru already, I feel like if Zoro and Sanji start fighting on par with Kizaru as well, people will still start getting a little bit iffy.
Right.
That's how I see it. Because like I'm not saying that again, Sanji and Zoro would get absolutely one-shotted, but to say that they're going to able to fight Kizaru in the same capacity of their captain, I don't think that's the case.
See, like I said, I see it more as it'd be like Kid and Law versus Big Mom, right? Where it was like the entire time Big Mom overpowered them without using any form of her like higher tier abilities. And Big Mom literally only went down because of a technicality with her getting muted and not being able to ask her homie for help. Apart from that, she was like, apart from that, the attack didn't knock her out. The attack didn't kill her. The attack didn't like incapacitate her to the point where she couldn't fight. She got TKO'd. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas the same thing could happen here, where like, you know how we know about those light gloves?
Oh yeah.
What happens if there's like a whole room of them, and Zoro and Sanji are able to surround them around Kizaru so he can't escape?
Ooh.
So it's not that they beat
That'd
him;
be
they
that'd be
entrap
pretty
him.
clever.
Like,
Right. Like that'd be pretty good because ever since the light gloves were like introduced, I think everybody was seeing that well they're going to be used against Kizaru. But whenever you think about it, it's like why do they necessarily need to be used against Kizaru? Because I mean, if you have hockey, it works unless you're thinking about somebody like Usopp or Nami or Robin trying to fight Kizaru, which I personally do not see happen, especially after the past few chapters that we've got.
It's just gonna be for a meme if that's the case.
If that's the case,
like El Bozo type thing.
The two people I would lean on would be Usopp, because imagine if Usopp shoots one of those gloves and it wraps around Kizaru's leg, forcing him solid.
Ooh. Oh, that would be pretty clever. I can actually see Usopp doing that.
Or, as you were saying, if Robin does it, right? We see Robin can make full clones of herself now that are fully dressed in what she's wearing. Could she replicate the gloves by spawning them on someone? Because clothing is in the like it's in the threshold of her powers.
Right.
But it's like, you know, would Oda go that route with it? You know what I mean? But let's get into it. Let's get into it. It right? We have everyone starting off with Kizaru. Kizaru senses it, then Luffy senses it, then Zoro senses it, then Lucci senses it, then Jinbei senses it, which in my mind also is implying who's strongest to weakest on the top tiers on the island.
Right.
Right? So you go Kizaru, Luffy, Zoro, Lucci, Jinbei. We've got the Straw Hats there. Specifically, they're carrying Stussy. I just realized that was Stussy. I don't know why. I thought that was someone else then, but yeah, they're actually running off with Stussy. That's
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, that's again. I only just realized that looking at that. Then that's good. I wonder if Stussy's gonna get back up.
Stussy for Straw Hat, bro.
Wait, what panel are we carrying Stussy? You completely lost.
To the left of Jinbei's reaction of what is that ominous presence.
What is that ominous presence? Oh my gosh, you're right. Okay.
Because we haven't seen Stussy's devil fruit, but we know she's got one. But we also don't know whether or not that's like green blood devil fruit, based on like Buchan's ability.
Did we see any green blood strand on Stufsy's arms?
No, but she's normally in a singlet, but she could have had it somewhere else. She could have it in her leg for all we know.
Yeah, ankle probably.
Because of how old she is as well, she's like a different model to the rest of them.
Right.
But then we get to see Dole and another Vice Admiral, right? So it's like, it's definitely going down like an order of processes, showing us all like the other strong people on the island, all feeling Saturn's presence. And the reason why this is so fucking crazy, and like, as you probably saw what I posted just in the Discord a little while ago, Young, we get some craziness with Haki here, right? So
I didn't even realize that hockey was being used until you actually posted that, bro.
mate,
Like I completely thought that was just like an ability, but if that's hockey, bro,
see,
if that was Conqueror's hockey, bro,
Conqueror's Haki is present in this entire situation, but the question is that ability Conqueror's Haki or Devil Fruit related? Because the problem
Or is it magic?
Either way, it opens the door for so many crazy things, right? Because we gotta think about it in the sense that it's like, okay, say it's Conqueror's Haki. Okay, you can weaponize Conqueror's Haki to kill people from range. Like their head explodes. So all of a sudden, it's not, oh, you know, this person can knock out all this fodder. It's like, oh, no. This person just thinks and all this fodder's dead. You know what I mean?
I mean, it kind of makes sense if you take somebody with Shank's level of Conqueror's hockey, able to like floor an admiral or paralyze an admiral just using hockey, and he like used like a fraction of that on like a normal civilian or like a low-ranking Marine, their head is gone.
See,
like that makes sense.
Do you know what makes this even crazier right now? You brought up Shanks. I'm not going to argue this, but who here thinks Shanks is probably the best Conqueror's Haki user we've seen in the story so far?
Definitely. So far, definitely.
Eggs?
Yep.
Okay, so Kuma, what about you?
Conqueror's Haki, yes. I'd say we've seen like different or better observation and armament users, but definitely Conqueror's.
Kuma, what about you? Where do you sit on Shanks with Conquerors?
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with that.
Okay, I'm gonna say I'm a little odd out here, where I think like he's had the best feats, but he doesn't necessarily mean it's the best that we've seen. I'm a little more skeptical about it. I know I'm in the minority on that. That's fine. But what I will say is, if we're looking at it from the perspective of, well, all Shanks is he's a celestial dragon that didn't get raised by the celestial dragons. And what do the Goros say? They're just celestial dragons. What is Saturn doing in this chapter?
Using Conqueror's Haki.
To kill people. I'm just saying, these original 20 Kingdom characters now are looking a little bit more serious.
Yeah. Like you can tell the rest of the celestial dragons are just like inbred or something. Like they're like when you look at the rest of the celestial dragons compared to like the Gorosei or Figarland Garling, there's no comparison like at all.
Mm-hmm. Which give me 2 pages and then I'm going to give you a little theory, okay?
All right.
So, pacifist units cease all action immediately. So the pacifists all get the news from Saturn. Vegapunk's like, it's one of the 5 elders. We see a magic circle with Conqueror's Haki spewing from it. As I posted in the group chat, that's the same Conqueror's Haki sound effect that's used when Shanks uses Divine Departure. Right?
Right.
We then see under that, on the bottom left of that page, Conqueror's Haki lightning spewing all over the island. Right?
Yeah.
Then on the top of the next page, we see fire spewing forth, but also you see these shadows and they all look like demons. Like actual demons being freed from hell, like screaming out. They've got eyes, they've got mouths, they've got horns. Right? And
I didn't notice that.
And in the middle of them, is Conqueror's Haki again spewing out. On the bottom right of that page, we see the Vega tank driving across the top, and we see Conqueror's Haki spewing out. Then the Conqueror's Haki stops as we see Saturn's body emerge from the fire and this pentagram with the 5s written on it. Right?
Right.
Then we finally get to see Saint J. Garcia's Saturn, the warrior god of science and defense. Right? We're told, and I'm gonna, any Marine below the rank of Commodore. Now, it's important to note this rank changes depending on which translation we read.
Yeah, I was gonna say, was it Commodore or Rear Admiral?
So, in other translations, they said Rear Admiral or under. It's important to note that Commodore is a rank just under Rear Admiral, so I think it's going to depend specifically on what they're implying it is, whether the sentence structure is this rank and below or below this rank.
Right.
If that makes sense. Whatever the sentence structure is from that, I'm going to rely on Viz to clear that up, right? Personally, I think it's probably going to be anyone below the rank of Rear Admiral. Right? So Rear Admirals and below. Right?
That makes sense.
Any Marine below the rank of Commodore is hereby ordered to avert their gaze. Transgressors will not be forgiven. Right? And then we see this normal Marine. What the hell is that? Some kind of monster? Quiet. We're not meant to see. He might just... And we see the gleam, the sound effect of Conqueror's Haki being used, his head exploding, and we see coming off the left-hand side of his body to where this Marine was, a blast of Conqueror's lightning coming out of his Neo cloak with the sound effect for Advanced Conquerors. Now, there's two lines of thought here. I'm leaning towards this being Conqueror's Haki. The other line of thought is it's a Devil Fruit ability, and he's just got Conquerors active passively while it's happening.
I mean, possibly, but I feel like that would be like overcomplicating things if that makes any sense. Like, because I personally thought like maybe it's just a Devil Fruit ability, but when you look into, I mean, Saturn's design, I don't know if we've gotten there yet, but it's obviously based off of a Ushioni almost, because he has like the bull horns and the spider legs.
There's actually two that he's based off, right?
Two?
Yeah, so you could look at it as an Ushioni, or I forgot the name of the other one. Hang on, I'll try and find it quickly. But there's another one that's identical to an Ushioni, or Ushibozu, but it has horns as well.
I seen one that it resembled what like Black Maria was. I forgot what it was called. And Saturn is definitely giving off like Black Maria vibes right now.
Oh, 100%. Where is it? The reason why, like, either way, it's definitely based on a yokai. Like, we all agree on that. It's based on a yokai.
Right.
The thing that I'm finding interesting here, though, is we don't get a name of the Devil Fruit.
Yeah, that's true. Like when we seen the ride fruit, we got the name.
Yep.
You know. But yeah, Oda rarely ever like keeps Devil Fruit powers from us when he's already shown them. Like if he's already shown the Devil Fruit power, he's like 99% like sure to show us, hey, this is what that Devil Fruit power is. But yeah, he hasn't really shown us.
I've got to ask the question, right? Clearly, it's evoking the imagery of a yokai. However, is he going to have the, Ushioni Devil Fruit? Or is he going to have another Devil Fruit and he just happens to look like an Ushioni because they want him to have that symbolic design, but that's not actually the Devil Fruit that he has?
Right. What is, because the black circle shows up, of course. Well, we don't know exactly what color it is. I'm gonna just say black because that's what we see in the black and white manga. But What if that's connected to Emu? Like, what if Emu
Yeah.
has just some like cracked hockey, or even if we go to the Umibozu theory for a second, and Umibozu is like a collection of spirits. So what if Emu kind of like say unleashes some of those spirits
I
and like allows the Gorosei to use them?
I would say we see this pentagram show up with fives. There's 5 Gorosei. It definitely is implying that Saturn is the 5th Gorosei, right?
Right.
I agree. I don't think this pentagram ability is Saturn's specifically. I think all of the Gorosei will be able to do this.
And what really intrigues me is if you notice, if you I don't know if you looked up like Ushioni, but if you notice, he is it's like based off of, or it's a spider that's like near the water, and it's like always like associated by being near the water.
Yeah.
And then like a few other ideas I have for yokai also relate to being like near the water, and then Emu's
The
name, of
Umibozu
course,
being
backwards. Yeah,
water.
Umi, and like yeah. So what if all the yokai associated with Emu and the Gorosei is like water related?
So I agree, and this is, I'll sidebar this and put this into my theory as well, right? I think personally, Oda is trying to merge the symbology from a bunch of different folklores and religions for the Gorosei and Im. He's trying to evoke multiple different mythologies here, right? The obvious one
Right.
being the yokai being Japanese, it being a Japanese manga, but just because it's the most obvious one doesn't mean it's not the only one, right?
Right.
For example, the pentagram imagery is very Christian based. We also know the celestial dragons have a hell of a lot of Christian based symbology associated with them, right? Especially with the whole Rijua looking like pretty much a big old cathedral.
Not to mention Kuma literally reads a Bible,
And
like,
again,
carries it around with him.
chapter 200,
Yes, I do.
chapter 233, we're introduced to Kuma holding a Bible, Doflamingo, who we know is a former celestial dragon, and the Gorosei. That's the chapter that are introduced. The chapter that are introduced, it's also important to note, this is very similar but not the same. Pentagram imagery is plastered all over the room of authority behind them. Right?
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Go chapter 233. Pull it up. You'll be able to see it clear as day. From the stereotypical Christian standpoint, I think I've actually come to a pretty decent understanding of what's being represented. Imu is clearly the devil, and we've had 3 times in we've had 3 times in One Piece people say that this is like hell. Right?
Right.
We've had it 4 times actually. We've had it with Eni's Lobby, Impel Down, Wano, and then the most recent one was Sabo at the top of Marijua. Right?
Right.
I'm going to put this theory out there. The first words, chronologically, we ever hear Roger say in One Piece is, "Oh, your name's Rayleigh. Do you want to turn the world upside down with me?"
Right.
At the current state, we have evil at the top of the world and good at the bottom of the world. Right?
Right.
Which is an inverse of thematically what should be happening. You know, the good should be up top and righteous, and the bad should be down below and unseen. Right?
Right.
Im represents the devil. More than just the devil, like clearly there's going to be the yokai aspect and the Umibozu aspect. I think that's the specific powers. I think Imu's going to have the Umibozu abilities and be a shapeshifter. But symbolically represents the devil.
Almost like how Luffy very symbolically represents, like, I would say, like, God or Jesus or whatever, since he's like all white.
So,
and like has the white hair, and it almost, and like he's like the sun god.
Yeah.
So it kind of gives that imagery of like all white or like all good versus all evil.
So let me take this another step. Right? You've got the five
Right.
Gorosei, five strong warrior gods, right? In Christian mythology, there are 5 demons that rule hell. There's technically 7, but 2 of them are Satan and the devil, who are the same being. So if you remove
Right.
them, you've got 5 great demon lords who rule hell, right? Personally speaking,
Yo, that's
I think we have a. You can assign these to however you want. Personally speaking, I think that the Gorosei each represent one of these different 5 demon lords, right?
like Beelzebub, Azathoth, stuff like that.
Asmodeus, Belphegor, Mammon, Leviathan, Beelzebub,
Oh yeah, Beelzebub.
Moloch. Those sorts of people, right?
Right.
Under them, and this is going to be the next most important thing, there is a demon that goes by the name Abaddon. Right?
Right.
Abaddon is the only demon that's allowed to kill other demons and is Lucifer's executioner.
Ooh.
Being Figolin Garland.
Oh, that's juicy right there. That's a juicy take.
Under Figolin Garland are the God Knights, to which we've seen 9 silhouettes, and that's all the information we have on them at the moment, right?
Right.
And one of them looks like Shanks.
In Christianity, 9 means divine finality, or the divine ending. Right?
Do you think
Ooh.
Oda's going to make a reference for the 4 horsemen then before the apocalypse?
I think that's
Ear,
probably
ear,
the.
yes.
I think the 4 horsemen were probably the Yonko.
Yeah, because we've gotten the a color page where it represents the 4 Yonko, and behind them is you can see like it represents the colors of the 4 horsemen.
Yep.
Ah, okay.
So, under the God Knights, being the nine, like the finality of 9, we have the Guard of Hell, a hellhound in Akainu, being the outward face of the world government and Marines. He's the guard dog, the loyal guard dog that guards hell.
Cerberus.
Under Akainu, we have 2 different groups. We had Doflamingo, who was the Antichrist. Had 12 disciples, one of which betrayed him like Judas, being Corazon.
I actually never noticed that before. That's actually some pretty good symbology right there.
Ironically, in like legit
Or
like
what people put in.
Christianity and Catholicism, like Judas was actually like the what was it, the true betrayer. Like I mean, like in a sense where like he was the only bad apple.
Running
Right.
parallel to that, we have the Seraphim, who are the Nephilim. Right?
Right.
Who also represent the 7 deadly sins. There is.
My God, my
There's
head's
7 of
ready to
them?
burst.
Is there really 7 seraphim? We've got crocodile.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
his 7 original
Crocodile.
warlords.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
we haven't gotten any of the new warlords, have we? So
No.
it is just 7. Ooh.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, the OG 7, which were Crocodile, Jinbei, Boa Hancock, Mihawk, Gecko Moria, Crocodile, and
Kuma?
I named 6. Anybody got the 7th?
Did you say Kuma?
Yeah, I don't
Kuma,
think you
there
said
we go.
cool.
Thank you.
There we
How
go.
could I forget my own name?
Who all represent a different sin, and that's been talked about for decades already, since they were
Yeah.
all first introduced. There's probably a lot more on that, and someone could probably refine this theory and give like specific demons or specific names to specific people. I try to, personally speaking, right? I think we actually got the order of strongest to weakest passive. Strongest to weakest. Okay, if the Gorosei aren't all equally strong, I think we've already been given the order of weakest to strongest. That being their relation to how close they are to the sun. The sun being Sun God Nika in power, right? Saturn's the furthest. Then we've got Jupiter, Mars, Venus, Mercury. It's also really important to note that's how the Gorosei are always represented. Far right, Saturn. Far left, Jupiter. Middle right, Venus. Middle right, Mars. Middle left, Venus. Middle, Mercury. Or Warcury. Who, if he is the strongest Gorosei, despite me not liking his design as much as some others, Warcury has literally war in his name, which would imply he's the warmonger out of the Gorosei.
Right, and I think he's even... Wasn't he the Justice Defense or something like that?
He was in charge of all legislation, all law.
Oh.
So it's definitely definitely pretty interesting to say the least, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Thoughts. I want to hear some thoughts on the whole thematical connection there. Take your shots at it. Try to rip it down as much as you can.
What? Wait, hold on. What?
Well, that theory, that symbology, right? Does anyone see anything that just goes against that? Because I think there's definitely the yokai aspect and other demons that get added on top of it. Because like I said, I think that's part of the foundation. But what they're doing is Oda's trying to combine different mythologies. Just like how Shanks represents Tyr and the Norse pantheon.
Yep.
Right.
I mean, there's literally a character called Loki in this story, so...
See,
yeah, I really don't see any holes in that theory, considering, like... I mean, yeah, it's based on yokai, so you could say, well, if it's based on yokai, it's not necessarily based on these other things. But I feel like Oda... I mean, it's Oda's story. He's based, like, Luffy. Luffy himself, you could say he's based on, like, quite a few different historical figures.
Quite a few.
Of course, there's Hanuman. Yeah, if you're comparing Luffy, you could compare him to like Hanuman, especially like the Gear 5 aspect. You could compare him to like
you can
Hanuman,
compare him to the South African
Ra.
god Joy Boy, the god of rhythm.
Yeah, the one literally named Joy Boy, bro.
Like, Oda went deep in the mythology bags when he was setting this world up. Right? But, that being said, right, now that theory's sort of out the way, does that give us the opportunity to jump into what the fuck Saturn is?
Yeah, let's go ahead and jump right in.
Oh, we'll come back to the end of the Luffy versus Kizaru stuff. I just want what? Holy fuck! He's a big old spider monster.
Have a break next week.
Oh my god, yes. The problem.
Could you imagine?
The problem I'm now sort of faced with is like you know how we were talking before about how like the matchups are shuffling and it's gonna look like we're getting overwhelmed. Is this the time? You know how we had, like, pre-time skip Rayleigh come in and save us? Is this the time that we get, like, Dragon come in and save us?
I've seen a few theories on that, actually. I kind of like that idea. Especially since...
Dragon's devil fruit is based off the weather.
Dragon's whole goal is to assassinate the Gorosei.
Yeah, and he just declared war on him. You know what I mean? He's not going to declare war on him and wait, like... a few months or a year or so to actually attack. No, he declared war. They're at war right now,
Put it this way.
Like
if he's not coming here, he's going to find out that Saturn has left Marijua and he's going to attack the fleet on the way back.
Yeah. Definitely.
And if
that's why the Marines weren't allowed to know that Saturn was on board because what if that information slips? You can only trust it with like certain individuals, like say, you know, Kizaru or Doberman or the vice admirals.
Mm. Which, speaking of, right? Um, if Dragon doesn't try to make a move on Saturn while he's away from Marizhra, I'm not gonna lie, Dragon may be dead to me as a tactician.
Kind of, yeah, definitely, bro. Like there might be some story reasons why, but bro, it just seems like sometimes he has the perfect opportunities that he doesn't take.
Like, I get that he's not a warmonger, but like,
I'm sniffing some dragon hate here, and I don't like it.
you send your subordinates. Like, Oda sent his subordinates to Marizhra to declare war, but also teased the Dragon was there himself when they were talking about how like violent the wind was, only for Dragon to be at home drinking his cup of tea. Oda knows what he's doing, and I'm sick of the Dragon teasing.
What if instead of like Dragon comes to save them, what if the Blackbeard pirates came to like not for Luffy, but because they got some sort of like intel or something that Saturn is going there, so they're actually gonna help the Straw Hats.
What if, to counter that completely, we know that the Blackbeard pirates were already on the island. There were two of them on the island, seemingly being Katarina
Right.
Devon and Lafitte, right? We know they can all communicate with each other, and we know with Van Auger they can teleport anywhere. What if Blackbeard steals Saturn's fruit?
Yo, that would be pretty crazy.
Oh my god.
Like, not only like getting a like Gorosei devil fruit getting revealed, but like taking away the same arc would be like a huge plot twist. Considering like you would think this would take build up, but I would actually like it if it was just like a huge just plot twist like that.
What
Like, oh no, like Saturn's like out of the game quick, and
as
then that it would build up Blackbeard as an even bigger opponent since like two of his subordinates were able to take out a Gorosei.
well, I would say instead of them taking him out, what would probably find is they would call for backup, and Augur would teleport the whole crew here.
Yo, that would be pretty OP. Yeah, because he can shoot from islands away, and they are only what islands
Two
away.
islands away.
So
2 islands away.
yeah, that's
And-
that's a definite possibility.
And just looking at Saturn here, his whole thing here for his aesthetic is his beard in this hybrid form, like awakened form.
Right.
Could you imagine Blackbeard with this?
Yo, that'd be pretty hype.
And we don't like the problem is we also, because we don't know the name of the fucking fruit, right? Is this even a mythical zone? Because the only two mythical zones that we've seen arguably awakened are Luffy and Yamato's, right?
Right.
Who both have white clouds, whereas regular zones awakened have the black clouds up until now with Saturn,
Oh, true.
which would imply this
I
isn't
actually-
a mythical zone.
Yeah, I actually never noticed that. Yeah,
But
that's interesting because I wouldn't really be able to think of like a normal zone. Like maybe he's like using his hybrid form, and maybe Oda just decided to design it with horns to like, oh yeah, that's kind of cool type thing to give off that devil imagery.
yep,
But yeah, I wouldn't be able to think of like an actual. Besides, like, of course, if we say he just has the spider devil fruit. That's interesting. That's very interesting.
it could just be a like, you know how sometimes Oda colors something in or doesn't color something in, but it's meant to be like the opposite. For example, fucking Queen's hair. Queen's blonde, but doesn't have like in the manga his hair's colored in.
Right.
It could be like that, where this is meant to be white, but because like the rest of him is black or white, it's like colored in here because it's supposed to be still darker than the rest of him.
Right.
potentially. But like so far, it's been a pretty like Yamato has the white clouds, Luffy has the white clouds. We haven't seen any other mythical zone awakened. Lucci, Kaku, and Saturn all have black clouds.
That'd actually make way more sense than just like, I mean, my previous assumption, like, oh yeah, they're evil, so like some Star Wars thing, you know, like they're
The
evil, so
imagery.
of course they have black clouds because they're evil, you know. But yeah, that would make way more sense if than just them being evil, so they have like black clouds.
But there's so much more to this because, right, scrolling up from the second last page, we see this motherfucker from behind, and his back's on fire with the swirls. But do you know what else has these same fucking swirls? Diablo Jambe. That also produces fire.
Yeah. Oh.
Sanji's
So what
devil
you're saying
fruit.
is that Judge somehow found a way to get whatever Saturn has. Are you saying that Judge managed to manifest magic and put it into Sanji?
Well, the question is this magic or is this a devil fruit? And if this, like, okay, is this magic? Is this a devil fruit? Or is this something...
It's a magic circle.
Or is this something completely new that used the same technology as what made the devil fruits in the first place?
Oh, God.
See how we start getting to fucking harder and harder spots?
Yo,
Right.
actually, wait. Sorry, this just randomly popped up into my mind real quick. So we got a giant man right now, right? A giant enemy appeared out of nowhere.
Yep.
Didn't Luffy's devil fruit ability also like clock in a gigantic Viking mech?
Where there is a gigantic mech on the island that is Viking themed. Whether or not Luffy's power awakened it or not, we do not know.
So do you think that Luffy plus mech is gonna fight against Saturn?
I think what's going to happen against Saturn right now is it's going to start off with Bonnie trying to change his age and it be ineffectual. He's going to give some speech about how
He is the cosmos, which is ageless.
I mean, like he's straight up just going to be like he's going to imply that Bonnie's still a fucking toddler in my mind. Right? Like he's going to imply that Bonnie's still like young, right?
Actually, a lot of people have actually been I mean not like on a serious note, but like people have been giving some people flack about who are fans of Jewelry Bonnie because they're saying like she's actually just a really young kid because we don't know her actual age.
I mean, if we don't know her age, we don't know her age, but she is she's got an ability that lets you literally change your own age, right? So,
I mean, she was present on Egghead like in a flashback. What was it? It was supposed to take place like what 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. That's why I'm speculating that she's in her early 20s. That's why I don't understand a lot of people giving folk flack.
Well,
I'm just saying.
We never actually saw her in the Egghead flashback. We just know that she's been to Egghead in the past. But
oh yeah, true.
But Vegapunk's only been on Egghead at least 24 years because it was like before Sanji was born. So it's like Bonnie fits in the timeline to have been on the island for that long. You know what I mean?
Right.
But whatever his ability is, it produces fire.
That's pretty hype.
What
if he's like, because he has like the white hair. So what if it's like a part like Lunarian?
I was just about to say, what if he has Lunarian ability and the Lunarians, because you know how the Lunarians are able to adapt to any climate?
Right.
What if the Lunarians adapted to Saturn being a predator of them in the past?
Ooh.
Like,
that's actually pretty interesting.
because the Lunarians used to live on top of the Red Line and then were eventually overthrown by the Gorosei.
Right.
And they were seen as, you know, righteous and godly in the past, right? And they look like angels, but they got overthrown by these demon-looking mofos.
And realistically, like, I'd imagine King is hardly the strongest Lunarian to ever exist. Like he doesn't actually really train that hard.
Yeah.
He's just a Lunarian is why he's so strong. So like
Yeah.
imagine back in the day, like the actual the king of the Lunarians who was like the most powerful warrior they had, like he would be pretty ridiculous.
The only thing I would say going against it at the moment is we see the flames on Saturn's back, but Bonnie still is able to stab him.
Oh.
But I'm gonna say something that's fucking disgusting here. What does Saturn's beard look like?
Nika.
I would have said a spider's egg sac.
Oh, not Nika.
Yo. That's crazy. I actually. So
I
you
don't
think
want
she
that
like
to be
stabbed
true. Oh,
like his egg sac around his neck and not him?
I mean, I
Are we
think
Like
gonna get
a
a bunch of-
turtle
oh
type
my
thing,
God.
like his real body's like really skinny inside of it.
I think she's.
Are we gonna get who's that guy? Are we gonna get a treble 2.0?
I think she stabbed him, and it's gonna like not really hurt him because it's like it's just a stab wound. The Gorosei have scars already. We know they do other shit, right? But once
Right.
she stabs him, she's gonna try to like do some effect to him, and he's gonna go, "That doesn't work." Peel her off, and then out of the wound, we may see little spiders coming out.
What if she ages him and like he's like, or like it actually is working, and it just like it, or she's like, oh, why isn't it working? And then like he's like, it is.
And he's just
And,
so
like,
old.
Yeah,
All the
he's
eggs
just so
turn into
old
giant
that she can't
spiders.
age him up or down.
Um,
Imagine if she ended up aging him down into his prime.
I'm just
Yo.
gonna put out one more mindset for people to think about. What the fuck is his walking stick? Because it grew in size to match his awakening.
That's true.
And why does he need a walking stick if he's got 8 fucking legs?
He's gonna start like using it like Master Roshi.
I think it may be
Twirling
his
it
weapon.
around.
Is he gonna turn into a turtle spider?
I think it may be
The
his
turtles.
weapon in some capacity there. I'm just saying.
Very possible. Like do it like the old man like with the knife and the cane thing. He just like whips it out. There's like a small little tiny shank in the top.
Saturn is a whole new level of fucked up. And I'm still standing strong as well on my
And
theory.
this is coming from a One Piece point of view too, when we've got like crazy ass people as well.
Yeah. Dude, I'm like
This like what amazed me most was the pentagram.
yeah.
Because the pentagram in itself is an absolutely game changer in terms of One Piece capability and lore.
And them saying it's a magic circle. Outright.
Now,
Speaking
careful.
of pentagrams,
you have to keep in mind of the translations as well. I don't know if it's like again, it could again like I don't want to spoil anybody's parade, but this might not be a magic circle. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is the word magic like?
I'm
I
kind of
also
leaning
think
towards
it's
it is because we did see quote unquote black magic circle during Brooks.
Cover spread when Kuma sent him flying. They
Yeah,
were trying to
and-
summon Satan.
Yeah, so maybe they just like, because it's obviously different, but I mean they had a pentagram still, so it could still be like something close to it. Like maybe they had it off because of course they didn't actually summon a demon. They summoned Brooke, who they didn't
Just-
even summon. He just kind of fell there.
It's just in that one close up of that panel again. Like I know I'm bringing this up again, but the thing that just astonishes me the most is that it all starts off as like this black silhouette or whatever in this cloud, and what we get in the literal cover story is literally the dragon that's the same
Silhouette.
kind of shape. So that's why I'm thinking that maybe the reason why Wano got closed off was because the Gorosei were scared that Wano actually knew how to kill one of them. Or they had some
Cool.
sort of prior knowledge.
You mean the fact that they're the only country in the world that has sea stone?
Okay, yeah. If you're ever gonna curb stomp me like that, alright.
Oh no, just from a logistic standpoint, the only country that you don't like, the only 3 countries you don't just immediately fuck up is the land of the giants that are just like, okay, they're all strong. we may get tag
Yeah.
teamed. And
100%.
Wano, where they just so happen to have the only naturally occurring fatal weakness to us. Right? I can't remember the movie. Spoilers, potentially. I think it's Cloverfield. Does anyone remember how that movie ends?
Cloverfield. Wait, let me just search.
It's an alien movie.
I don't think I've ever
Oh,
watched
yeah,
that.
2008. This one I had, I watched that way back, though. I watched that.
Pretty much. The cliff notes for it, spoilers ahead. You can skip 20 seconds ahead if you don't want to hear this, right? Aliens invade, and it turns out their weakness is water. And they didn't realize it was going to be dangerous. So people just start spraying them and it beats them, right?
Oh, yeah, that movie, yo. I forgot about that one.
So that's kind of like Sea Stone in this situation, right? Which, again, Saturn's running the risk here because Vegapunk has Sea Stone, like, bubble weapons?
Right.
Can you imagine the bubble just pops on Saturn's rear and he just ends up going absolutely kerplunk?
Or would he just be able to pop them with his sharp little crab claws?
Or maybe that's why he has the walking stick, so that he doesn't actually have to touch the bubbles when he has to pop them.
If it is a magic circle, I'm just saying it now just to get it out there. If it is a magic circle, that's his fucking wand. Like a magic staff, like a wizard's staff.
Or
It's gonna be like Voldemort.
No. Maybe when Jewelry Bonnie actually pops off his you remember that guy Satori, whatever, the guy who was in charge of Enel's Trial of Spheres?
Yeah, Satori.
Yeah. What happens if Bonnie ends up stabbing and then she ends up like cutting off all like these like little egg sacs off of Saturn's beard, and then he uses his cane to like bring him all to life and stuff.
See, the problem is because obviously he's the Ushi Oni's mythology is that it's like if you look at it, it can steal your life force and add it to its own. Which you're invoking that with the Conqueror's Haki earlier on in the chapter. Right? Which is leading me towards the idea that it's like, okay, well if that was Conqueror's Haki and not a Devil Fruit ability, he's not just a demon spider. Right? Which could mean, even though he's looking like that to invoke that imagery, his Devil Fruit could be something completely different. For example, he could have another God Fruit. Like Luffy. Like, what if he has the Spider Fruit model fucking arachnid god or some shit? Right?
Like I'm just searching up like an Ushi Oni article and stuff right now, and it's like saying like apparently again they are naturally exceedingly cruel and savage, and they can also breathe toxic poison, use humans to extend their life force in some stories. Going along coast, the cruelest Oniyoshi ravage the same towns over and over.
Oh my god, if it can use its own life force, like use someone else's life force for it, yo, what if this motherfucker can do what Hawkins can do?
Yo, actually, sorry. Another cool little fact here is that it says that Ushi Oni often frequently work together in cooperation with other yokai.
Which, going back to that that list of like the devils and all that I was talking about before, I included Akainu, but I didn't include the actual admirals, right? The admirals could represent something else. I just haven't necessarily thought of what they would represent. But it could be in relation to what their animals are. You know what I mean? Like green bull, purple tiger, yellow monkey. They could have like yokais associated with them, and that could be arguably their awakening forms. Like Kizaru's awakening could make him look like a yokai.
Oh,
it's possible.
Have you guys heard of the yokai Neurona?
Neurona. Is that the
Yeah.
one that looks like a the monk?
No, it's the snake with the woman's
Oh,
head.
yeah. No, that's the one that I was saying looks like the monk, like the Gandhi, Baron V Nostro.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a variation on that. Because there's the Nuri owner, the Namori, the Uwabami, and another one, which are all like semi-snake yokai. I think for sure
Right.
that's who Baron V Nosturo is going to represent, but I'm also positive that his actual ability is going to be a white snake of some capacity. Like I'm set in stone on that at this point. But the question is, what kind of white snake? Because I'm sort of looking at it going like, it'd be interesting if we're picking different mythologies here. If he was like the world serpent, or something similar to it.
That would be pretty. But at the same time, I feel like I don't really even know how it would connect, but like the red line is obviously gives off World Serpent vibes, especially since I mean Dorian Broggy in Little Garden actually called it the blood-soaked serpent, or they said the blood-soaked serpent couldn't withstand their attack, or something to that
Let's
effect. And when you think of blood-soaked serpent, that's the first thing you think about, you know?
let's think of it like this then, right? We've
Huh.
got two options. The Gorosei are either from the Void Century or they're not. Their devil fruits, though,
Right.
are 100% going to have been in Marizua this entire time, right? So even
Right.
if the Gorosei aren't, their devil fruits have existed this whole time, right? I'm thinking that in that regard, then, right, we got to look at these devil fruits and look at the major changes to land in the Void Century. The red line we know is unnatural because we know the island whales bash their head against it because it's not a natural occurring thing. Right?
Right.
So if the red line was manufactured or extended to increase the rule of the original 20 kingdoms, one of them having, say, a world serpent ability and it just looping itself around and then solidifying and dying could be what caused that in some capacity. You know
Like
what I mean?
almost like a Attack on Titan like walls situation.
Yeah. But
Kind of like that.
because we've got to look at it from like the aspects of what all the devil fruits would be. Okay, all the Gorosei's devil fruits, right? Obviously, Im's the like the big bad that like is on top of everything. But all of these guys put together, essentially, is what changed the world.
Right.
So surely we've got to look at their abilities and be like, how does it fit into the grand scheme of how the world would have been affected back then? You know what I mean?
Right.
Especially from like a family standpoint on some of these names in a weird way. I don't know. Some of it might be a bit of a reach, but like I feel like a lot of it is definitely going to be like linking together. There may be a few outliers, but I feel like they have to bring them back in that capacity. Like, have you ever heard of the yokai? I'm gonna butcher this. Nupepo. Nuppeppo.
Okay.
No, I don't think I have actually.
Right. There used to be a Pokemon card about it. I'm pretty sure. Nupepo, right? I don't know much about their lore, but visually that looks like the same silhouette as Saint Jupiter. When like they went up to the Red Line and were fighting Sabo. But I'm pretty sure its ability is it's like it can open its mouth. It's like Kirby. If that makes sense.
Is that the? So Jupiter was the Gorosei that had like the form where it's just like
A
almost
blob?
like a head with two eyes with the
Yeah.
with like the big open mouth.
Yeah.
All right.
So if we're looking at like similarities there, I'm like, okay, we've got Saturn, who's the Ushioni. You've got Jupiter, who's the Nepo, whatever it is, Nurioni or whatever. You've got Nusjuro, that's just definitively a snake. I'm so sold on him being a snake that I'm not changing my mind on that, right? The only two people left is Saint Marcus Mars and Topman War Curie, right? I've seen a lot of people saying War Curie's a Baku, which makes a lot of sense if you look at it. If he's the strongest Gorosei, Baku's steal and feed on dreams, right? So it'd be like really fitting symbolically that it's like Luffy, whose whole thing is his dreams and his freedom, right? The right-hand man of the person that steals and oppresses dreams is someone that literally feeds off people's dreams. And like the way that could work in the story is it's like, you know how Robin, like you know how Black Maria made them see a hallucination?
Yeah.
Imagine if War Curie's ability is quite literally he can spawn your worst fear.
Oh.
That'd be like a really interesting way for him to fight, wouldn't it?
Right.
So it's like people actually have to overcome their fears to beat him, which is like a very anime tropey, but also like not something we see a lot of people do, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's anime tropey, but it's not something you see a lot in like One Piece or anything.
Yeah. Because that just leaves, like if he's a Baku, that just leaves St. Marcus Mars and that bird-like one. And I've seen a lot of people throwing out different names of it. There's like a roost.
About the Tengu. I seen a yokai called like a Kotengu or something, and it's basically, you know what a Tengu is.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a Kotengu, which is a Tengu but like a lesser Tengu. So they have like the bird beak instead of like the long nose that a normal Tengu would have, but they still have the wings, and so I think it would really match, honestly, the form that we've seen.
Yeah, I've got it up. I've got it up right now. I'm 100% with you. That like it looks pretty much spot on. There's also another one that I can't remember, but it's like a firebird yokai.
Right.
Hang on. It kind of looks like a chicken roostery thing. Where is it? I'll find one. Hang on. But either way, it's like at this point in time, I feel like we can all agree that they're definitely based on yokai or going to be based on yokai, which like has a lot of, you know, it makes it easier for us to sort of guess and assume. I've also seen people actually bring up the idea that all the 5 Gorosei are going to represent a different element.
Right.
So, Saturn here represents the Earth because the Ushioni or Ushibozus are supposed to be like an Earth demon. But like, you know how we've got the Japanese like element tree where it's like fire, earth, metal, water, and wood or lightning. Each one of the 5 Gorosei could represent one of them, and each one of them could have their own version of a pentagram based on that element. So in this situation, it could be like, even though he represents the earth, you've got like the hellfire and that, but he could also represent the fire. If that makes sense. This the whole problem with this, it just opens up so many fucking possibilities that it's like, how much of it is just like craziness, and how much of it is just like actually like, oh my god, that's it. You know what I mean?
We're gonna think as well. Back in the day, like when the Ancient Kingdom was fighting the world government, or the people who became the world government, like they created the devil fruits as like a weapon to like win the battle, right?
Mm.
So obviously the other side, the then world government, like previously before they were the world government, that side would have had some kind of power
Or weapon.
that was already really powerful, that they were winning the war, and then the Ancient Kingdom created the devil fruits as like a counter to that. So like this transformation could actually not even really be a devil fruit. It could just be some other weird random power that we've never seen before. And the devil fruits are like essentially the thing that's supposed to be matching this.
Right.
One thing we
So
haven't.
like, it could be a billion different possible devil fruits, or it could literally just be none of that. It could be some kind of ancient ability that they don't really have anymore.
One thing we haven't really talked about is, I mean, the whole aspect. Devil fruit means a fruit of the devil, implying there's an actual devil or devils.
Yeah.
So it could be like the Ancient Kingdom cultivated their abilities in the past and split their abilities up to make the other devil fruits or something.
Yeah.
I found the name of this other yokai. It's called a bassin, right? It's like a fowl-like bird with like that breathes fire. So it's like it's like a it's like it's like a peacock flamingo rooster that breathes fire. in a weird way.
Right.
But I could definitely see Saint Marcus Mars like having that as well as a potential ability. Like
Right.
part of the thing that I'm questioning with him at the moment is it's like with the Goro saying that, it's like, are their abilities also going to match up with their titles? Because it's like Saturn here, I mean, his Devil Fruit doesn't really invoke science or defense, does it?
Right.
So it's like
no matter how you want to look at it, it doesn't really invoke anything.
yeah. So it's like those titles could be more what they're thematically connected to, and not like visually connected to. If that makes sense. So you can like potentially look at it as like abandoning one line of thinking for it in favor of others.
Right. I kind of follow.
That being said, do we want to go back and just finish off the Luffy vs Kizaru fight?
Yeah.
All right. So
do we even care about that anymore as much?
I do because Luffy whips out his second strongest attack in Gear 5 that we've ever seen. Right.
Okay, Expert Brecky, get ready to defend yourself, bro.
I'm not even gonna try.
Because Luffy goes his muscle form in Gear 5, which he used to completely overpower Kaido. Right?
Right.
Then we see him use armament hardening, and it took me a moment to realize this, but, right, this white star gun that he punches him with, does anyone disagree that he's using Advanced Conqueror's Haki on that?
No, I don't disagree.
Anyone disagreeing? I'm hearing crickets. I'm taking it as a dub. Sold. Advanced Conqueror's Haki. What took me a moment to realize is if you actually look where it says White Star Gun, if you look a little bit above that, we actually get to see fire or Ryo Haki coming off the fist as well. So this is either an upgraded version of like the Red Hawk and Rock gun, or this has the most advanced emission haki we've seen coming from Luffy outside of Bajrangan.
Right.
And Kizaru takes... It's important to note, Kizaru tries to move around it, I think. If you look at the like where the fist goes in, you see that splash effect. That still actually kind of looks like light, like the same sort of shape as his lights. So it's like he's tried to go around it, but then the Conqueror's Haki's nullified it, so it's still like made contact and hit. But it's important to note Kizaru is still talking, conscious, while the fist is in his head.
Do you think the stars popping out of his head after he got punched has any like importance at all?
It's just to show that he's dazed from it a bit. Because we saw the same thing happen to Kaido back on the rooftop. We had stars above Kaido's head about 3-4
Yeah,
times.
the stars are like the whole cartoon thing of like you get bonked on the head and then you're like, ooh, you're a bit dizzy.
I don't think this punch took out Kizaru. I've seen so many people already saying Kizaru got one shot as soon as Luffy used Haki. Like, just fucking outright, he's talking with the fist in his head still. It pushes.
He's not talking. He's thinking.
Well, he's thinking, right? He's internally monologuing, right?
Yeah, but what he's thinking is this is not good. Which for Kizaru, because his character is like, I'm never gonna like show any like big emotions. To like being like this isn't good is like, oh no, like it's worry.
See, I think that can. Oh, okay. I think the simple answer is yes. It's not good that he got punched in the head with that attack. I think that's a simple answer outright. Right. And I think that's what we should go with moving forward. But I will say it is a possibility that he's the first one that sent Saturn, and he's like, oh. He also didn't want Saturn to come to the island. Right? He was going to be the one to get this all done before Saturn moved, but Saturn came in because Saturn was impatient.
Right.
So when that happens, he starts fighting Luffy. He's like, geez, haven't you had enough yet? Come on, leave it to me. And that's when he gets hit and he's like, oh, this isn't good. And he's like looking at Saturn while Saturn's looking at him fighting Luffy. And Saturn's like, Nika. So it could be that Kizaru is actually potentially, and again, this is more of a stretch than the basic logic of that's just like, oh, this isn't good, I got punched in the head, which makes more sense. But it's possible that he's like, oh, I need to wrap this shit up quick before Saturn causes some fucking hectic shit.
Well, I think it's both actually, to be fair to you. Like, I think it's like, when he's saying this isn't good, it's like he wanted to just quickly take out Luffy, but instead he knows he's going to get knocked away and Luffy's going to be there with Saturn.
Yeah. And
he's like, not only is Saturn here, but I didn't get to take out Luffy quick enough. The whole situation is not what he wanted.
Yeah.
So it's like both. It's like, okay, I'm about to get sent and Saturn's going to do some crazy shit with Luffy now.
Yeah.
Not good.
Which I think leans up perfectly as well. So it's like Luffy's done this, and like, despite this being the second strongest attack we've seen from Luffy in Gear 5, it's also really important to note that Luffy hasn't done a lot of attacks in Gear 5 yet. Like, he's still playing with it.
Yeah.
Right?
At least not a lot of named attacks.
God, what the hell? Every time I look at this White Star gun, I see something new that messes with me. There's 2 shockwaves where Luffy's, like, breaking barriers. And there's almost a third shockwave.
Yeah.
Around the gun where he punches.
Yeah.
There is way too much detail on that panel. I could be staring at that for hours. But yeah, so it's like, it's hard.
The way that I'm thinking of how it's going to run is like, basically like Luffy is right now, he doesn't really know how to control Gear 5 properly, which is why it's so goofy. And I reckon, and I think this is a good thing for the fan base as well, because a lot of people on the fan base is kind of like, oh, it's a little bit too silly, which I kind of understand. I think Luffy is going to learn how to control Gear 5 and how it works, because right now he still doesn't know that it's a zone.
No.
He still doesn't. He still thinks he's got the rubber.
He's still coming in with a gum mindset.
Yeah. So like I think like once he
gum mindset, that's his trademark.
But
you get rid of that, it's not Luffy no more.
But
I think like once he figures out what he is, I think the goofiness is going to get toned down a lot, and it's going to be more like how we kind of thought of a Gear 5, where it's just powerful. And he does have the freedom.
I also still think, right, and I might be in the fucking on my own on this one, right?
All right.
Luffy whipped out Gear 5 before Kizaru whipped out something. Luffy whipped out Haki before Kizaru whipped out Haki. If Luffy versus Kizaru continues in any capacity, Kizaru whips out Haki, or Kizaru starts looking like he's doing a bit better than Luffy, right? And then it gives Kizaru still the opportunity to awaken, and Luffy to learn his Devil Fruit, for both of them to get massive power-ups to continue fighting, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's like, I still think there's like, if this was like Luffy versus Kaido, right? We're still in round 1 of 3 on the top of Onigashima. In terms of like what we're being shown. What I will say against that, though, that may get me in some fucking trouble here. We saw an awakened Gorosei before we saw an awakened Logia. And I'm just saying, Kizaru's here to be Saturn's bodyguard. So it still could be fairly reasonably attained that Kizaru is stronger than Saturn.
Possibly, but I mean, maybe, but I still kind of highly doubt it. But at the same time, I kind of have that train of thought that a lot of the Gorosei, their silhouettes, and of course Saturn's form, don't really resemble fighters. Like, you know, when Oda's adding in a fighter, they look like he can do something with them, but I don't really see fighter from really any of the Gorosei. Maybe Hacks, you know,
Yeah, I
but
can see that.
Yeah,
not.
I get you.
Yeah.
I would say at the moment, just because we've seen, okay, it's hard, right? Because it's like, okay, we've seen Saturn's Awakening before, we've seen Alogi's Awakening. That's probably because Alogi's Awakening is still going to be more impressive, right? But whether or not Kizaru's Awakened is still like, he may not be. You know what I mean? Like, I'm holding out hope for it, but it's like, it's a fucking possibility. Whereas with Saturn,
I think if we're gonna see it, we're gonna see it sooner than later.
The problem I have is, who would be the most entertaining people to see their Devil Fruit Awakening first, without it like ruining the anticipation for other people. Like, if you just went straight to like the strongest Logia and showed their awakening first, all of a sudden all other Logias behind them aren't as fun to see.
Right.
So it's like, whoever we're going to see the Logia awakening of first is probably going to be like a little bit weaker than everyone else that's got a Logia awakened, right? Does anyone feel like Crocodile's awakened?
Now, possibly, because Oda seems to like to do that, especially since there was a time skip. So, I think definitely, possibly, especially with how much control he claimed to have over his devil fruit already. I mean, he is the one who introduced, yeah, like, you might have a devil fruit, but that doesn't mean you're like a strong user of a devil fruit. Like, it doesn't mean you're skilled with it. So, I think possibly, but
Do we cut away from Egghead even a single time before the arc finishes? Or are we finishing the arc before we go anywhere else?
I think if we cut anywhere, it would be to Empty Bluffs, because that's. It seems like Oda's been trying to tie up the plot threads he set up in the arc, and of course we get Garp going to Hachinosu, and then like we get to see how like Hachinosu plays out. What if we get like, of course, the Marines showing up at Empty Bluffs Island, and then like maybe a couple chapters later, Oda's gonna leave again for just for a little bit, go see what's happening at Empty Bluffs. If it's, you know, like important to the story, I don't see him really just adding it to add it. But if it's important to the story, checking that out, then seeing like what pertains to it in the normal story.
I would say what pertains to it is that's where the remaining 3 Seraphim are heading. So it would be we see what those Seraphim are doing, because if they get defeated by Mihawk, Croc, and Buggy, then the Seraphim that are on Egghead probably have to survive. Like, which makes it hard because we've got Caribou and the Blackbeard Pirates on Egghead at the moment as well. So it's like, is something going to happen to some of the Seraphim in the background? You know what I mean?
Right. I think it's possible, especially since the Seraphim are essentially doubles of characters we already have. Of course, they are their own separate character-ish, but they're essentially doubles, so I don't see why Oda would say, like, yeah, we're going to keep every single Seraphim, we're going to have 2 Boa Hancocks, 2 Mihawks. I can definitely see a few of them, like, getting scrapped just to show off the power of other characters.
The problem is with the Seraphim as well. We know that they still get stronger when they fight. So sending them to fight someone strong, if they don't get beaten, means they should be getting stronger as well.
Right.
So it's like, you've got S Doflamingo, like you got Doflamingo, Moria, and Crocodile heading for Empty Bluffs. You could have a situation where you get Crocodile's gender revealed based on the Kid Croc. Like, you could have other people be like, this little girl's attacking us, who is it? You know what I mean? Or,
right.
Alternatively, it's like, I would fucking hate to do it. But since Vegapunk can't recreate Logias, I mean, you could even have Crocodile's Seraphim kill Crocodile and actually eat his fruit.
Oh, that. Yeah, because we know, like, things like tools and weapons can eat devil fruits. And I'm sure green blood doesn't count as having a devil fruit. So, because as far as we know, Blackbeard's the only one who can use any more than one devil fruit. So, having green blood and a devil fruit might be like another close, like, 2 devil fruit users, or user using 2 devil fruits. I mean,
it would be intense.
Yeah, definitely.
And like, I'm not wanting to jump away.
Especially if the.
Oop.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'm not wanting to jump away from like the events happening on Egghead at the moment, but I feel like we've got so much stuff still set up in the background that I think we are going to jump to some other stuff, because I don't know, like, it's hard to tell how big of a resolution we're getting at Egghead. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if it's just gonna be like a quick leave, or like if we're actually gonna settle this, like, right here, get the Marines somehow to leave, which the only way I could see us getting the Marines to actually leave is if Dragon shows up. And like he threatens like Saturn.
The only thing I will say here, which could be fucking hilarious, but I really doubt it will happen, Caribou.
Caribou.
I think the whole point of the Blackbeard Pirates on this island is to collect Caribou, but if not, Caribou's swamp fruit allows him to store people, and we also know Caribou tries to kidnap people for ransom. Could you imagine if Caribou tries to kidnap Saturn?
Yo, and that would like, because doesn't Caribou know who the man marked by flames is, right?
Does he?
No.
No?
No, he knows who Poseidon and where Pluton are.
Right. So, I feel like we still don't. It's weird that we still don't know who Caribou is actually working for. Like, because if you remember, when we first seen Caribou, he was introduced trying to infiltrate the Straw Hat Pirates on Sabaody, or Return to Sabaody. So, what was his reason for trying to infiltrate the Straw Hat Pirates specifically?
I think
is what I'm.
Have you ever seen? I think it's Baroque Works. Mr. 11? No,
Mr. 11.
not Mr. 11. Mr.
Mr. 11's the one that was killed by the Billions, right? For
Mr.
like
10.
his place.
Mr. 10, not Mr. 11. He's the only member of the Baroque Works that we haven't seen in the main story.
Right.
If you pull up a photo of Mr. 11, it kind of looks like it could be an early draft of Caribou. So it's like, I either see Caribou working for Blackbeard or for Crocodile and thus Cross Guild.
Right.
If that makes sense. And you could just chalk it up to, when he was Mr. 10 originally, he just didn't have the Logia. And then after Baroque Works, disbanded, gets the Logia, then when Crocodile gets out, Crocodile fucking gets in touch with him and is like, oi, you coming back to work? You know what I mean?
Right.
But,
and then so like he sends him to try to infiltrate the Straw Hats or something.
To get revenge as well. Just a little bit. On some little petty shit. This chapter was just so fucking wild.
Definitely, bro.
In terms of moving ahead, we've gone leaps and bounds.
Which I think is actually a problem now, because now I'm like, if this island wraps up before chapter 1100, I'm actually gonna be upset if this arc wraps up in 6 chapters. You know what I mean?
I mean, what if on 1100 is when we finally get to Elbaf?
I could definitely see that being the case.
Or even Dragon showing up. I could see Dragon showing up, because remember, he did show up in chapter 100, exactly.
Yeah, 1,000 chapters later, he shows up for the second time.
To be useful again, like, finally, after 1,000 chapters.
Saturn's about to beat Luffy, and Dragon grabs it like he did for Smoker's GT.
Right.
And he's like, hey, that's my son. What do you think you're doing there?
Jesus.
Which leads into another possibility here. Did Vegapunk leave a loophole in the Pacifistas programming? Is Saturn the highest authority? Can Vegapunk override it in some capacity? Or did Vegapunk also maybe include something in it for Dragon?
What if the way they end up combating the Pacifista Mark IIIs is Vegapunk finds like some of the original like model Pacifistas that don't have the chip in them, and he just starts having them fight?
That would be interesting. I think next chapter we get a reshuffle of matchups. We get 2 more Vice Admirals, or 1 more Vice Admiral, showcasing something. I'm going to say the Vice Admirals are probably going to come over to help. Okay, do you know what? Next chapter opens up, Bonnie having stabbed Saturn. There's a little bit of a back and forth. Bonnie gets regarded as a little kid, dismissed. We see Kizaru getting up over with Rob Lucci and cohorts, right? Then we have the Straw Hats go to attack Saturn, and Saturn just like bats them away like it's nothing. Luffy gets up, goes Gear 5 again to try and attack Saturn, right? And then I think we see the robot make a mysterious appearance again at the end of the chapter.
We have to. Either that or the Blackbeard Pirates. We have to see one of them make their move. They've just been like wild cards for a while now.
The Blackbeard Pirates' presence is going to be post Egghead incident.
Right, like almost like, because one of the tasks for Kizaru was actually to protect the science on the island. So if they can actually somehow run off Saturn for the Blackbeard Pirates, then the Blackbeard Pirates can basically come in and be the cleanup crew for all of that valuable technology.
Yeah. And I mean, like, at the moment, where's York?
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, York hasn't been. Maybe she's with. Cause wasn't Robin and Brooke around York last time we seen her?
Uh,
And then so like, cause I swear, like Robin was sitting around York while she was complaining when the Straw Hats caught her.
I'll have to have a look
I don't know about Brooke.
because Robin
Huh?
and Brooke are the only Straw Hats not accounted for at the moment. But at that same point in time, do you know who Robin and Brooke match fucking perfectly?
Who?
Lafitte and Katarina Devon.
Yo, that's true. Lafitte has the same cane type thing.
Mm. Which,
Yo.
imagine if we get a flashback that while all this was going on, they were dealing with them. Because
What if Oda's? Go ahead.
I'm looking at last chapter at the moment, and based on last chapter, Robin and Brooke also aren't in the top dome. So I'll have to go back to 192, see where they are there.
Right. So what if Oda's trying to set up the Hachinosu arc sooner than later? Like
Mm.
I always had this like scene of like or I've always like yeah thought of like maybe Blackbeard and Luffy getting to the One Piece together, Blackbeard, Luffy, and like Buggy, something like that, like actually fighting for the over the One Piece rather than like Luffy goes to Hachinosu, defeats Blackbeard, he goes to this place, defeats this like no, I actually want to see like at least two people fighting over the One Piece,
Oh my.
not just say like. But at the same time, I feel like the Blackbeard pirates would have a like huge incentive to capture Robin, and we know that that's something that the Straw Hats like won't let happen.
Yo,
So what if we're getting the Blackbeard arc sooner than later?
we haven't seen Robin in a while.
Yeah.
You,
Like ever since we got back to Egghead, we seen her in like 2 chapters, and then we haven't seen her.
from chapter 1091, we haven't seen her since. And like I'm still going back further to see if we've even seen her before that. Because Brooke,
And it's interesting because even Brooke had like a small little panel, like he was behind a speech bubble, but he was there.
but he's also now
But Robin's just
disappeared.
been missing. Yeah. I mean, maybe they could be looking for like the secrets
Okay,
because we do have like Brooke being good at infiltration with his spirit fruit, and Robin who's good at reading poneglyphs and knows a lot about history. They could just be scavenging, but I think
no.
yeah, it's very mysterious that we haven't at least gotten like
Robin,
a small like piece of dialogue saying like, yeah, you two are gonna go like do this while everybody else fights. Then we know like, okay, yeah, that's what they're doing. So not to worry about them. But we haven't even gotten anything like that.
chapter 1009 is the last time we saw Robin, right? The beginning of the chapter is when Luffy is talking to the Gorosei, and Robin hangs up on them. And it says, information is a weapon. Don't hand your enemies weapons. That's the last time we saw it, right? When all the Straw Hats are together there. And she's injured, remember? She was bandaged up with no context. So, Brooke, York, and Robin are present there, right?
Right.
Then everyone starts talking their shit. We see Robin. The last time we see Robin is when everyone's talking about going to Elbaf in the middle of chapter 1090. Then after that, everyone's split off into different groups, and we don't see Robin from there. Right? Chapter 1000,
Right.
chapter 1091, right, is when Kizaru first makes landfall and is going through just decimating Sentamaru. We see Brooke in the background there of 1091, up in the top with Vegapunk and all that, up in the top area of the dome.
Right.
Then we have we see Brook again, still there, when Lucci takes out Stussy, right? And then the fighting begins, and then for the next 2 chapters, we don't see them. So Brook and Robin are unaccounted for, both last seen up the top, but now we know everyone else has left the top area and they're not present. But we also don't have anyone looking after York. So either Brook and Robin are looking after York, or everyone's just abandoned York.
Right.
But the last time we saw York, York was still up in the top, being guarded by the Vegapunks. Right? And then that like robot woke up. And then
Right.
from there, like we've just been going through with the fight for the last 2 chapters. So we haven't seen them since. So I genuinely wonder if Robin and Brooke are looking after York, or if they're on a side mission and maybe dealing with the Blackbeard pirates and no one knows about it.
Right.
Which would make sense if the Blackbeard pirates were there to kidnap York and to get Caribou for just whatever reason they want Caribou.
Right.
Which means we may have Robin and Brooke get kidnapped, potentially. And then after Elbaf, the Straw Hats have to go to Hajinosu, which we know is 1 island away from Elbaf.
Right.
So it's like Egghead, Elbaf, Blackbeard pirates. Which would be interesting, but holy shit, there is so many moving parts in this damn story.
Like, it's
For,
also
like-
the idea that you have to think, do you guys assume that Oda's going to chop through these things one by one? Or is he going to continue to, like, mash and meld these things until he's got, like, just one gigantic mega arc at the end?
I'm definitely thinking the chopping and changing where everything's happening all at once, which means looking at the order of events, the next 3 things I'm expecting is... The next 3 payoffs I'm expecting is the Cross Guild, Kuma, and the Revolutionaries. I'm expecting something from them because we've already had the conclusion of Blackbeard, Law, Shanks, and Kid. Right? So I'm expecting updates from those 3 story points before we go back to those other story points to continue them on. But it's hard, because it's like, I think Kuma, like I said, I think Kuma's mind's probably in the giant robot here. Or has some connection to the giant robot here. Or that giant robot was sensing Saturn and woke up because of Saturn's abilities.
Right.
Oh, dude. Okay. Who's thinking that the Gorosei are stronger than the Admirals at the moment?
Oof.
Not necessarily stronger, because I feel like no matter what, the admirals have more battle experience, or more proficient at battle, if you want to say, because we don't know how old the Gorosei are. But like I was saying, I feel like their devil fruits are mainly just like hack based.
If Saturn fails here, does Figgle and Garling execute him?
I mean, possibly. But I feel like he's too high of an authority to just get executed by Garling.
Unless it's by Umu's orders, but the likeliness of that is rather slim.
Yeah.
I mean, again, like, in terms of the Admirals and Gorosei, I think... in terms of, like, I guess, technique variety, the Gorosei definitely have the Admirals outmatched, just because of their unpredictability. But, to me, the Admirals are almost, like, 100%.
How long
Which will-
does it take before Kong makes a move?
I love this. Yeah.
And would Kong go to rescue Garp?
Would Sengoku go to rescue Garp?
I don't think Kong would. I think Sengoku, yes, but Kong, I don't know, because he's been a government lapdog for a while. Like he was not only fleet admiral, but he's still like one of the highest commands in like
He's still over
the
the
land
fleet admiral.
beside. Yeah, he's still over the fleet admiral, so that means he's taking orders directly from the Gorosei.
But he's
So
still
I really,
he can still super impose his orders onto Akainu.
that's true.
So if Sengoku finds out that Garp's been kidnapped and wants to rescue Garp, he could supersede Akainu's orders without joining Sword, by asking Kong, "Can we mount a rescue for the hero of the Marines?"
Right.
Which could result in catastrophic failure, but it could mean we get to see Kong do something in the story.
Right.
And then that way it just keeps like ongoing tension from all around the place. Or do you think he would be saved as another combatant defending Marizua?
I think he would be probably killed defending Marijua. That's honestly where I see Kong. I don't see him. Like I said, Sengoku. We've seen like the humanistic side to Sengoku during Law's backstory, and like he really sees Law as like a son. So I can see him seeing Garp as a brother and being like torn up that like Garp's like actually caught. So yeah, I could see Sengoku doing it, but Kong not really, and honestly Sakazuki not really, considering he it kind of seems like he sees other Marines, or like if you can't defend yourself, you're basically dead weight almost.
Do you know what makes that funny? In an ironic way?
Oh,
Akainu is built off dog imagery, right?
right.
One of the most famous adages is "Don't bite the hand that feeds you." We've already seen that Akainu is opposed to the Gorosei doing stuff behind his back. If he finds out they're doing even worse, nefarious shit that Akainu can't justify, he may step to them and he may be put down.
Yeah.
Which, from a reader's standpoint, imagine rooting for Akainu. How much that would hurt you.
Yeah, that would be crazy, bro. That's like rooting for Blackbeard.
I mean, oh my gosh, unpopular opinion. Blackbeard did nothing wrong.
Definitely an unpopular opinion. Although he didn't.
I mean,
He didn't. He gave
I mean,
most people an option. Like, he gave Ace an option. Ace just told him to F off.
Yeah.
Okay. What's everyone's predictions or thoughts on what the pentagram is? Devil fruit, science, or someone else's ability? Or Haki
Emu's ability.
Emu's ability?
Definitely, I feel like it's Emu's ability. I don't see any reason for, like, maybe you could say it's a teleportation technique that comes with the devil fruit, but I really feel like that would be a lame explanation, like especially for like a full-on pentagram. We've seen teleportation techniques. Um, so I feel like it would be Emu, and like of course the Gorosei is going there. He might like be at whatever strength he's at, and then Emu is basically remotely powering him from Marie Joie, and that's why there's like the summoning circle.
Or it's an ability gifted to him from Im, and it's just like now passively active for him to use whenever he wants, until Im takes it away.
Right.
Hence why you've got like those demon like auras screaming out as he comes through.
What if he's like actually still on the ship, but he just summoned a very similar looking demon out of like a circle?
I don't know how I'd feel about that though. I feel like that would be
Yeah, I don't know how I'd feel about it, but what if, bro?
The interesting thing about Saturn at the moment is he's in his awakened form, and the awakening form we know is a hybrid. So
Right.
this isn't the full zone form of this ability.
Yeah, we don't know what he actually properly looks like.
Yeah. But it's like he's obviously got like spider body, so I wonder like can he use web? Like Black Maria?
I'd say probably so, but
Or is he gonna be more like instead of like a spider that focuses on web, a bit like what if we see a big stinger like Shelob?
Shelob. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, because we haven't seen poison from a spider much in One Piece.
right.
Yeah, Black Maria was a wee bit of a disappointment, not gonna lie.
And see if he is like if he does have some like otherworldly like magical abilities to him. Like imagine if his poison curses you or something.
Ooh.
That definitely could be an interestingly fun thing to see. I Is it weird to say that at the moment this invasion feels really very small, despite there being more than 100 ships?
Definitely, yeah. I feel like that's mainly because we don't really have like Marineford. Marineford seemed massive because we're constantly cutting to, okay, this admiral's fighting this guy, this vice admiral's fighting this guy, these Marines are clashing right here in the middle. And then this, we don't necessarily have like a full army on our side. We have the pacifistas and the seraphim, and sometimes the pacifistas and seraphim are like switching sides. So we basically just have the straw hats and the vegapunks as like characters on our side. We don't really have that fodder to where it seems like Marineford. You would see a few panels of like fodder clashing. That way, like it seems like yeah, this is still a war going on. But on our side, there's really no fodder to clash with.
In our case, it's more like when we've got the pacifistas on our side.
Yeah.
Which Saturn's taken over all the pacifistas, all 50 of them. So at this point in time, we're all like busted. Unless, distorted future, Bonnie changes the future from one where Saturn gave the order.
Yo, like her awakening is to like distort the future around her.
Yeah.
That would be cracked, though.
And then all the pacifistas go back to their normal like order from Vegapunk to help.
Her devil fruit would be the better version of Toki's fruit then.
Yeah. But also like it's the better and worse version. Like in this last page, right? Like it's like the sword. Where did she get that fucking sword from? Was that on the ground?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because I almost looked at it like she just had the ingredients for the sword and aged them into being the sword.
Yeah, I was thinking she maybe pulled it off the ground, but at the same time, that's not the style of sword used by the casual Marine. You know, unless she knocked out like a vice admiral that has like an actual katana type
But even
sword,
still,
but
there's no sword or marines on the ground around them prior.
yeah, exactly.
Unless you're talking about the one that Saturn blew the head off of, but they all had guns.
Yeah, and there's no telling how close they were, too. Because I mean, Saturn is huge, so the dude could have been a, quite a
Quite a fair
bit
way away,
away.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mm. Or he was close enough that Bonnie was able to stab him. I'll say that. But still.
yeah.
Just... Oh. I really think that her stabbing him there, like, looking at his face and his eyes, that just had zero effect on him.
Yeah, he's got that
Definitely.
look.
And it like,
Like
go ahead.
she's a bug.
He looks like Jack. With the no
Oh,
eyebrows.
no. You can't give him the Jack. You can't give him the Jack comparison.
Can't I, though? Can't I, though?
Like, you mean the token billiard?
Yeah, I've just realized Saturn doesn't have eyebrows.
Nope.
I actually didn't notice that.
Oh, that makes him 10 times more creepy. Because he's got all the other facial hair and the beard, but he's just got the no eyebrow look. That is filthy.
When do you guys think we're gonna get the Kuma flashback?
I don't think we're getting an actual flashback.
No?
No. I
feel like
I think at this point, what's happened is we don't get the flashback because Bonnie already knows the results. That's why she's no longer upset with Vegapunk, but why she is upset with Saturn.
Right.
So
I feel like we're gonna get more of a. Of course, not like her going into the memory chamber or anything, because that's already passed. But like, while she's fighting, I feel like we're gonna get snippets, definitely, because that is what triggered her in fighting. So we might get a few panels next week of her just going ballistic, not doing much to Saturn, of course, but just like her going ballistic and then like seeing a few reasons why. Because right now we're just kind of getting a little bit of like context. Like Saturn seems to be the one who ordered um, Kuma being turned into a pacifista. So I feel like we might get a little bit more on that, but not too much, because I feel like a big reason why Kuma was and agreed to become a pacifista almost, because he did. I think it was stated that he agreed to become a pacifista. It could be just like, I don't know, the similar mindset almost. If you get what I'm saying.
I think what's happened and what's gonna happen, right? Last chapter or the chapter before, Vegapunk harassed Frankie, saying,
Right.
How could you let Bonnie get taken? You're such a strapping young lad. You got to be a bigger man, right? Then this chapter, Bonnie's impaling Saturn, and Frankie's the closest person there, right? What I think may end up happening is Bonnie, Frankie, and Luffy have the most important connection to Kuma out of everyone else here. Because Frankie, the first thing Frankie said at the beginning of the time skip, once we came back from it, was we have to clear up something. Kuma was most definitely our friend and ally and saved us. Right? And if we ever get the chance to, we have to make it right with him. Right?
Yeah, because he was the last one to actually see the real Kuma, right?
Yeah. Well, if that even
besides
was the real
like
Kuma.
of course right now, but like yeah.
So what I think is gonna happen is Bonnie's gonna get sent flying, Vegapunk's gonna scream, Frankie's gonna hit Saturn with a fucking radical beam.
Can we please get a Bonnie and Frankie side by side V laser beam?
I think Frankie's gonna hit Saturn with a laser beam, and we're gonna see how much one of the laser beams do damage against Saturn, how effective they are, right? Might even
What if Bonnie hits him with like an NDE, and Frankie hits him with like the radical beam, and they're both doing like the splits, and we get like a Frankie ass shot.
That would be hilarious. I'm not gonna lie.
Radical MDE.
Yeah, they're both doing like the somersault split through the air. That would be hilarious, bro.
I think he's gonna get a shot out on Saturn. Saturn's gonna coil his legs up like a spider when they die, and let out a
Right.
really fucking terrifying burst of Conqueror's Haki.
Almost like Luffy when he got knocked out by Kaido, and he like
I'm talking Shanks to Green Bull.
oh
Like some nefarious Conqueror's Haki, and it's gonna wake up
what if
Luffy.
it's something? What if it's something like Shanks going on Whitebeard's ship? You know how he's like his presence had so much power it like broke the ship. What if he just like looks at Frankie and crushes him into a tin can because he's like metal?
I mean,
No.
honestly speaking, you know how they were talking this chapter about no one below a certain rank can look at Saturn? I think that's just because the Conqueror's Haki may be passive.
Yeah, like
Oh,
Shanks.
rest in peace, Chopper.
So if anyone's too weak and looks at Saturn, their head will just explode. And for the Straw Hats, it'll be like all of them have the willpower of like a vice admiral now that they've gone on their 2-year journey getting stronger.
In terms of nerves, yeah.
Yeah.
But
But
in terms of their willpower,
I'm looking at the loose threads that need to be wrapped up this arc. The most important one's Kuma, the robot, and then just finishing the conflict. Those are the 3 big things from this arc, right?
Yeah.
The problem... Oh. The problem is from here, who would be the worst people from the Straw Hats and their allies to be taken?
Robin, but I don't really want to repeat Vandy's lobby.
Robin and Bonnie?
Robin, Bonnie, and Caribou?
Yeah? Those would be the 3 most like, oh shit, we need to get them. Just on some nefarious shit, right?
What if they like just took Caribou and then we have like a Ennie's lobby type Caribou moment, like I want to live.
I want to be the Straw Hats' black sheep. Well, I mean, Caribou could always be the buggy of the Straw Hats.
If you think about it too, like Caribou's ability to act as a walking, talking chest and storage would be absolutely amazing.
You'd think Nami would love that for keeping her money on standby.
Exactly. Do you know how well, like, Sanji could literally just fill Caribou up with like hundreds of barrels of food?
It would be all he needs. Oh, okay. Who do you think is the next faction?
Awesome.
Who do you think is the next faction that makes their move?
I feel like with the newspaper out about what's going on at Egghead, we might get to see the Grand Fleet, like not necessarily get there, but maybe make a bit of a move.
Young, you just
like maybe try to get there.
You just fucked me up. You just ruined me. Morgan's is supposed to be in the air around this.
Oh yeah.
What if he reports on what Saturn looks like?
Yo,
and gets a photo out to the world.
Yo, Morgans would not pass up a scoop like that, bro. Like even if, because his his life is already like threatened at the moment, anyways, because he's with Wapple, and Wapple's seen what they really look like. But if he could get a picture of that and like Wapple's like eye testimony, that he would not pass up a scoop like that.
Yeah.
That is big news right there, bro.
I've got to go back, what, 1080... It's... What chapter would it have been? 1079, maybe? Hang on.
Possibly, I think that 79 might have been
The Shanks?
Garp on Hachinosu, though.
It's possible. No, it was the one with Shanks, which is perfect. Because... It was 1078 then that I'm looking for, which is where they give the rundown of how the event would read. Because I'm now curious to double check the wording for it. Right?
Right.
Cool.
So, okay. After a discussion between the 5 elders and an unknown figure, the genius scientist's betrayal had been made clear. The elders made the call to have Dr. Vegapunk assassinated. Cypher Pole Aegis Zero undertook the mission. By anticipating a counterattack by Vegapunk, the elders chose to make a visit in person with Admiral Kizaru as protection. Reinforcements were requested from naval bases far and wide. The development made it clear that they were expecting war, and into that situation sailed the ship of Straw Hat Luffy, Emperor of the Sea. The arrival of this unexpected variable unsettled the government, to say the least. But regardless, the resolution of this incident the following day would inflict a kind of shock the world never saw coming.
Like, almost like if you realize that the person you've been taking orders from this entire time is a literal demon.
Yep.
That'd be crazy. And then, like, you get a picture of Luffy, like, side by side, and Luffy is, like, literally, like, almost looks exactly like an angel.
Mm-hmm.
Like, give him a halo and some wings, and my boy's an angel.
This raises one other question.
Oh.
The Straw Hats captured York overnight, right? Like the day before this event. Meaning they had a day
Right.
to just go around the island and prep. What if they repaired Shaka off screen?
Oh, yeah, because they are just robots, huh? Or not robots, They seem like more like clones because, of course, when Shaka did get shot, he bled a little bit. But
we had Rob
I mean, that
Lucci,
could have been oil, but
we had Rob Lucci
Huh?
destroy the big Vegapunk's head, and they just replaced her head.
oh yeah,
Because we could have one of the Vegapunks being Shaka in the background, getting in contact with someone like Dragon or something as well.
I hope because Shaka honestly had one of my favorite designs
Designs?
out of all the Vegapunks.
I mean, he literally had the Daft Punk design. It was
Yeah.
the design for Vegapunk.
So clean, bro.
I don't know. Eggs. At this point in time, what are you thinking is going to end up being what shook the world, or what the world never saw coming? Is it just going to be like us beating the odds, or what?
I think it might be what you're talking about, the finding out that the world government is like led by demons, because it could kind of start the whole revolution, which is sort of where this whole big final war is kind of leading to. Like, it won't immediately create the revolution, it'll just be like,
Fanning
oh,
the flames.
okay, and then suddenly people are looking at the revs as being not so insane. And, you know, so it won't be like an instant the final war begins, it'll just be like a fanning the flames, the spark has started.
Oh, it is going to be hell on earth. Alright. I don't know why, but the God Knights, just because I hear the word knights, I just immediately think of swordsmen, right? Could you imagine the Straw Hats pulling up with the army of Elbaf attacking Marijua, and you got all the giants doing like the Ikuku sovereignties, and you got the God Knights like doing projectile slashes, bashing them away, and stuff like that.
Yo,
Like imagine
that would be an insane display of power.
Oh yeah. One Piece has the potential to have the most intense and interesting war in fiction at the moment.
Yeah.
Like just with how much stuff's set up, how many abilities and powers they have, and like if they can congregate it all into like one finite series of areas where it all coincides, it could be so fucking intense.
Yeah, whenever I think of like the final war, I always think like since the new Marine Fort is built right next to the Grand Line in like Marijua, or not the Grand Line, the Red Line in Marijua, I always have this vision that like say like the Straw Hats pull up, whatever, like fighting ensues, of course, and Luffy and Akainu, because I have to see this rematch just because my boy Luffy needs to get his get back sometime. But just Luffy and Akainu, just like the fight gets so heated, they all of a sudden end up on like the top of the red line since it's like close. So it's not like they're knocking each other across the planet, but it's like their battle's so heated they're at least getting to the top of the red line, and then that's how the red line is destroyed with like a Bajran gun or like a Bajran Gatling or something.
Man, it would be insane. But okay. Oh, wait. Okay. Dumb question. Drive Fruit. Introduce this chapter.
Yes.
Could she drive an island?
I don't see why not.
And migrate
Unless
an
it's
island like a big
specifically
boat.
But I guess maybe it could work, but the thing is that she went straight for a well. Again, maybe that's because the pacifista were running rampant, but I'm assuming that as a drive human, you can only quote unquote take control of something that already has a natural motion.
Maybe.
Right.
But
Maybe that's just my superstitions at the moment. I can't really call it fact.
because if not, and she can drive anything, imagine if she was at New Marineford and was able to drive it around like a giant battleship.
Yeah. What if she just gets onto the top of the red line and starts driving it around, like making it a snake or some shit? That would be OP.
I
That
mean,
would be okay, Zach.
I'm waiting for Alvaro Pizarro to get himself inside the red line.
Yeah, bro. That would. What if that's actually how it happened? It's like a giant. I feel like it would have to be a snake to make that shape too, but it could just be like somebody who used the island fruit and
Just
then
like
just decided to stay like that.
spread their arms around the whole world to hold it in place.
Yeah.
And that's why Reverse Mountain has 5 rivers, because it's the gaps from the 5 fingers. At the end.
Yeah, that would definitely be
Oh
a
my
pretty
god.
interesting concept, but I really
It's a
don't
reach.
see it playing out like
Yeah.
fully. Yeah.
It's hard because it's like One Piece has abilities that definitely affect the whole planet, but at the same point in time, they're not like destroying the planet in mid combat, throwing like massive hissy fit fights. You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh, I want to see someone cut off one of Saturn's legs. And like some xenomorph type shit, when they cut it off, it's just spewing toxic acid and poison everywhere.
Yeah, I would actually like that.
Because I don't know why, but those style of legs always make me feel like if someone gets pinned by one of the legs, it poisons them or like acids them as well.
Yeah, because they resemble fangs more than like actual spider legs.
Which, I mean, in this form, it's also important to note his beard grew out, so we can't see his mouth.
Right.
He may have like spider tendrils. Like, oh my god, yo, where Bonnie's stabbing him right now is like in his like upper chest, lower neck. Imagine if you just see the spider tendrils come out, grab her, and just pull her in.
What if it wasn't blood that came out when she stabbed him? What if he just started like spitting up like some sort of poison at her? Like he ate her sword and then like started spitting poison at her?
Yeah, joke's on you.
Rip bozo.
Okay. I'm gonna ask now, as like an estimation, which Gorosei do you think is gonna have the coolest design with their fruit?
Gandhi.
Gandhi?
Yeah, Gandhi definitely. Gandhi has been set up to be the most badass like devil fruit user or like Gorosei user. I mean, but other than that, Top Man. I feel like Top Man has to be strong.
Personally at the moment, I think Topman's the strongest, especially with like the name Top Man.
Right, and then like Warcree.
Yeah, like his name is literally being like, yo, I'm the top dog. Other than him.
I don't know though. It could also be considered that he might be the weakest because he's also one of the smallest planets.
True.
I would say that would be
Yeah,
his.
would have to say like Jupiter is the strongest, and I really don't see Jupiter being the strongest. Not gonna lie.
So I did a theory video on TikTok about this. The two people that were either going to be the strongest was Warcury or Jupiter, right? I lean towards it being Warcury, even though I think aesthetically it would be cool to see Jupiter be it, because you can always look at it from the mindset of Jupiter attained their rank younger than the others because he's stronger, right?
Right.
But I don't think that's as cool, especially since if you look at Peter and his story, and we've talked about this in the past, but it's like he betrays, like he's known to betray, so it's like I don't see him being the strongest if there's a potential for him to betray. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whereas if you look at Warcury, he's always depicted in the center or centered, and he takes up the most space. Like he's normally like man spread, relaxed out on the couch, but he's also the person that speaks the most about like going into conflict. He's the one that was like, you know, crocodiles made a mess for us. We need to sort out the power gap between missing a warlord and stuff like that.
I've actually been thinking of too, because just Peter for like Catholic or not Catholic, sorry, Christian lore is that he denied Jesus 3 times before confronting his sin, right?
Yeah.
And admitting it. So I'm thinking that maybe 3 of the other 5 elders will fall first before Saint Jupiter actually gets put into action.
I see that, but I also would like to point out him being the god of agriculture. They're currently going through a famine, right? It could be a simple thing where it's like 3 strikes and you're out, where it's like Saturn goes down, something else major happens, and because the celestial dragons are starving, Jupiter gets blamed for it, and Figgle and Garling executes him just to, you know, tide over things with the other celestial dragons.
This also is actually pretty interesting too, because the field of politics I feel are going to depict where we see each Gorosei appear, because we have Saturn, who's in charge of science defense on Egghead, which is, you know, obviously the entire island of places like that, right? So we're going to each encounter one of these Gorosei in their field of expertise. So in terms of justice, like we'd encounter Topman Warcury at either the
Elbaf?
New Marine Ford with, yeah, New Marine Ford actually though, because they always talk about how the Marine is the face of justice, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe environment, we'd end up seeing Marcus Mars in Elbaf.
The reason why I lean towards Warcury for that is imagine Saturn goes down, and then Warcury, the god of war for this Gorosei, is like, okay, I'm gonna head out. Right? Elbaf is it's known as Warland Elbaf.
Right.
And if that's
Okay, yeah, that does sound better.
although I couldn't see him going on his own, but like we could see him pull up with the God Knights. Doesn't have to be all of them, but like a small strike force of like ridiculously powerful people. Right?
Right.
There's just so much to speculate here, man. You're gonna have to do like just a video alone for the Gorosei.
It's actually like painful at this point in time because it's like
A little bit.
don't.
I'm not gonna...
I just need more chapters, man. Give me more chapters.
Right.
I know. The fact of the matter is that we're entering the One Piece endgame, and yet we're demanding for like more is insane. Because
anytime one question gets answered, like 5 more get like introduced.
not only that, the answers that you get, you end up speculating on their truth.
Right.
It's also something that really interested me is throughout this chapter we got everyone's reactions to Saturn except for Sanji's.
Well, I feel like that's mainly because he's like right in front of Saturn, so we didn't necessarily need to see that. Oh yeah, I feel Saturn's presence because he's kind of right there, you know.
Yeah.
So we might see more of his reaction like when we cut back, because of course Saturn's standing like right in front of him, and last thing we see Sanji doing is helping out Bonnie, or trying to help out Bonnie before she stabbed Saturn, anyways.
Yo, do you know what I just realized? There's also the symbology in this arc of God versus science.
That's true.
And this chapter ends with the warrior god of defense and science coming face to face with the most scientific man in the world.
Not only that, and Sanji, because you know Sanji is like has very scientific roots as well. Very interesting.
I just can't get over Saturn's design. I love it. Like I hate that it's so amazing. The same with the pentagram thing. And like that's not even getting into the ideas like that pentagram thing. Like do you guys remember the Reverie too well?
Sort of, yeah.
Because one other thing to consider is, wow, when was the Reverie? It was chapter 9. It ended by 909. So let's go 907. Right. The thing about the Reverie is we had so many Easter eggs because it was the first time that we actually got to look around Marishwa.
Right.
But like, okay, chapter 907 is that chapter. The ending of that chapter is when Shanks shows up to the Gorosei. Right.
Right.
You got the Hall of Power, Pangaea Castle. There's pentagrams inside inside triangles all around the room. And then Shanks sits down, and it's funny. Shanks sits down, and the Gorosei, the only Gorosei that's facing him, is Warcury.
Oh.
All the others are off doing their other, like they're in the room, but they're off doing their other jobs, like reading papers and stuff like that.
Right.
And then I think is it 908 that we get to see Im at the end? Walking down the stairs. Oh no, okay. 908 is when we actually see Im. Oh, it must be 907 that we see Im walking down the stairs. Hang on. We'll go 905 just to be safe. Yeah, because we get New Marineford. They go up to the Grand Line. Oh, fuck. This series, man, has got too much shit going on in it.
The fact of the matter is that Oda can even make up an entire what was it, like entire side novels just based on how all the other characters that he made.
Right.
Like we could literally if you were to remove Luffy, everybody else, like you could literally take each and every supernova and start your own 1,000 chapter story with them.
Hmm.
Exactly. Especially since each island, since it was set up like you can take one path and then each other path is different. There's so many different islands that we haven't seen simply because they weren't on the path.
This is actually where one of the again, it's one of the biggest like greatest achievements, but also one of the greatest hindrances of the One Piece storyline is that you have so many characters and so many things going on at the same time. And when each of your chapters is maybe 10, 12, 15 panels at most, there's just not a lot of room for each and one of them. So while you do add in infinite amount of possibilities, you're also kind of it's
Limiting
kind
your
of like
ability to tell
adding
it.
in. Yep, yep. It's kind of like you're starting off with a tunnel for a storyline, right? But for each doorway that you built in, that's a separate tunnel going in, and you can only keep going so far before you end up getting lost.
Hmm.
But
Right.
because how much aside from if you were to take away all the chapters that didn't include the Straw Hats, you might only get I'd say 800 chapters in total.
That don't involve the Straw Hats.
Yeah.
Not
I
even
mean,
that.
you know what I mean, without the Straw Hats being a focus point.
I would say that. So it would go from 1,000 to 800 of just 800 chapters focusing on the Straw Hats.
Hmm.
Is that what you meant?
Yeah.
I don't even know if there's 200.
That's just a random guess. But I'm just saying, in terms of storytelling.
Yeah. Like 10 to 20% at most doesn't involve the Straw Hats directly.
Yeah.
Damn. Oh.
I mean, I know it's crazy when I say it like that, but it's actually kind of true.
Oh my god. Okay. The story. I'm stuck now. I'm stuck in an infinite loop. I'm just too. I'm too giddy still. Right.
Yeah, the chapter was so good, bro.
I'm so keen for next week because we don't have a break, but I'm also terrified because it's this really is showing up worse and worse for us. But like I said, there's still the potential looming threat of the tsunami coming.
Right.
And it's if Saturn does have a devil fruit, him getting hit by tsunami and drowning, the one time a
Yo,
Gorosei leaves.
that would actually be a good reason for them to break up without Oda showing exactly who's stronger or maybe exactly all of Saturn's abilities or making Dragon show up or anything. He could just simply bring a giant wave to the island that if all the strong characters there are devil fruit users besides what Zoro and Sanji, then
They have to bail.
then yeah, effectively the war's over because it's either that or you're going to be fighting at the bottom of the ocean, which most of y'all can't move at the bottom of the ocean. You know what I mean?
Okay, I've got a question.
Hmm.
Huh?
Going out to everyone here. So, clearly the Gorosei have devil fruits, are awakened, and fight. Right?
Okay.
Right.
How or who scarred these men?
There's not many with scars, right? It's just Saturn.
It's the older one.
And
Gandhi doesn't have any, as far as I'm concerned.
Top
Gandhi's.
Man.
Jupiter doesn't have any.
Oh, look at the Gorosei now. Hang on.
Do we have a consensus from the group if we think that like that they've been around since the ancient times, or if they're
I don't think they
just
have. I think they're the
I think
newest
they have.
incarnation. The reason why I think they're the newest incarnation is because of that line we got from Ivankov, where Ivankov was like, if there is someone that is immortal, it would be this Imu Nerona character. Implying the Gorosei haven't been around forever, if that makes sense.
Right, and I feel like the Gorosei's names would be pretty public information. Like the Emu is the silent ruler, so Emu's the one people don't know. But if say Ivankov knew like the Gorosei's names, I don't see why she wouldn't be like, yeah, and these other like 5 Gorosei, they have like ancient names too. It's just Emu that she brings up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there would be like people would have like statues and stuff of the 5 elders.
Yeah.
Like, and like, you know, you would kind of notice if 3 generations goes by and the statues never change. Like,
So,
people know what they look like, and it's like after 400 years or 500 years, you start to think, something's going on here. Why aren't they dying?
okay, the interesting thing is, you're right at the moment. The only 2 that have scars, quote unquote, is Saturn and Jupiter. And Saint Topman Walkiri, it's either a birthmark or a scar on his head. Right? I'm just going to say this. If you look at it from the ones that have scars are the weakest one, being Saturn number 5 and Jupiter number 4, and the other 3 have just never been in a situation where they've been touched, you could use that storytelling. Alternatively, the scar on Walkiri's head, unironically, and in a really funny way, looks like the kind of burns that Akainu gives with his magma. Imagine if in the past someone with a magma fruit tried to punch this man in the head and he just tanked it. And he just got a little bit of a singed forehead.
I mean, again, it's going back to what you said. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. So will Akainu actually lose his temper and actually strike against the Gorosei?
Okay. I'm gonna be a dick here. So we're at the point now where, like, okay, the Gorosei are all combatants in some capacity, even if it's just hacks, right?
Yep.
So the Gorosei, are they making it into top 50s this year?
Oh, Jeebus.
Or are we waiting to see what they can do?
We haven't seen them fight. That's the problem.
I mean, I saw them just do the most damage with Conqueror's Haki we've seen any character do, and that's just outright murder a person.
Yeah, that's true.
The only problem with that is we don't know how much of an effect that could have on people that also have Conquerors.
Yeah.
Which immediately puts them below like all the top tiers.
See,
I mean, to be fair, they'd probably still be in the top 50, but they wouldn't be up high.
Personally at the moment, I don't see them being stronger than the Admirals, but there's more of them, and they're more of like a organized group, and like they're just like the lapdogs of Im anyway, if that makes sense.
Right.
So it's like they may not be individually stronger, but like they're close enough that it's like, okay, it doesn't really matter that they're not stronger because they also have them, the God Knights, and Im. You know what I mean? But what I will say going for them at the moment is, now that we're seeing that, because for so long, people were saying that the Gorosei were just figureheads, right? That they don't actually fight, they're just there. That's it. They're just political strength.
Yeah.
Oda's giving the old people props. I'm just saying, the last one left to give props to is Kong.
And Sengoku. I mean, we really haven't seen anything from Sengoku.
I don't know. Sengoku was boxing.
We've seen him clash with Blackbeard, but
Sengoku took out the whole Blackbeard pirates with one strike at one point. Like, he was just area of effect shockwaving them away, just like.
And, yeah, no, and again, like, I know the anime portrayed it like it was his devil fruit, but
it's
I don't
still
think it really was the case.
It still could have been like pre-time skip, like emission
Conquered,
haki.
yeah,
Like,
100%.
cause see, we didn't see the black effect in that, but like they were just like, oh, it's a shockwave, and just got sent flying. But like the way it sent them flying, Buddha doesn't have the ability to make shockwaves in mythology.
Nope.
So it's like, where did the shockwaves come from? Is Buddha just that shocking?
Pun intended.
Okay. I'm gonna ask one really last minute red herring question.
Huh.
Would Shanks have any reason to come to Egghead right now?
What is Shanks dealing with right now?
Shanks just one-shot Kid and left. And the next closest island would be Egghead. If he goes in one direction.
I mean, possibly, but seems like he's still avoiding Luffy right now, and he seems like he still like trying to test Luffy at the same time. So I feel like he'd think Luffy has it or can take care of himself, and
I'm not gonna lie.
might be possibly going after Blackbeard right now.
You know the dumb thing in like cartoons where it's like two people that are looking for each other are like driving in opposite directions, and like you get that scene where it's like slow mo, they make eye contact with each other where it's like you, and then they just both go flying the opposite direction.
Right.
Imagine if like the giant robot shoots the Straw Hat Pirates off of Egghead and they're going flying to Elbaf. And you get Luffy and Shanks make eye contact for a second while they're like going past each other.
Yeah, that would be pretty epic.
And then Shanks is just like, wait, was that? Looks back in front and then just sees this massive fleet heading for him. That would be pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie.
That would be cool. And then we see some sort of like, I don't know, something from his crew, because of course they don't have any devil fruits, so they can actually fight in the water. We might see something. We know humans can learn fishman karate, so I wouldn't.
Yeah, koala.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say they couldn't. So I feel like at least one of Shanks's crew probably knows fishman karate, especially since they're not devil fruit users and they can use water to like the fullest effect.
Imagine if Lucky Roo knows Fishman Karate, but he doesn't use it to manipulate the water of other people. He uses it to manipulate the water in his stomach to amplify belly flops.
He just like belly flops in front of the fleet and creates like a big like Aqua Laguna type of wave.
He's like Choji from Naruto, just like body slamming in front of everything.
Floated body roller. There we go.
All right, we've been going for a bit over 3 hours. Is there anything anyone else wants to bring up in regards to this chapter or predictions for the next chapter?
I don't really have anything in regards to the chapter, but while we're talking about what we think the Gorosei and Emu's devil fruit is, me and you were talking about how we think Emu's devil fruit was the Umibozu.
Yeah.
And I went back to the closing pages of Thriller Bark. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
I've brought it up to a few times, the Florian Triangle monsters. So I noticed, so when it's showing them off, you get 3 like dark spots. And I don't know about you, but that kind of looks to me like Emu's crown, like the top of Emu's crown. And then instead of like the anime, right? The anime shows like the middle one, and it shows that's the one whose like eyes is glowing, so it kind of makes you think, okay, there's 3 different creatures there. But in the manga, the eyes are lower towards like the water, almost like it's like a giant creature rising its head out of the water. And then maybe the 3 prongs, like the 3 shadows we seen on top, is just like the crown. So it's like, yeah, like Emu's head is like rising out of the water and like looking at the events of Thriller Bark or something.
So I look at that as one of 2 things, right? If you get the panel up in front of you, you'll probably be able to see what I'm talking about. But I get exactly what you mean, because where that swirl of cloud is, it's near the bottom, right?
Right.
So like if those eyes that are glowing or those parts that are glowing, it's down in that area. So I 100% agree with you that it's like that could definitely be like Im's crown as Im's lifting up, and that's actually like Im getting shadow casted the same way that they do in Skypiea, but from the red line, since we know Thriller Bark is right next to the red line.
Right.
Alternatively, that is one of the giant elephants like Zoe.
Yeah.
And
I kind of feel like that might be like one of like one reason, but at the same time, I feel like if it was a giant elephant or anything like that, it would have made some sort of noise and
well,
would have.
it makes a noise. In the
It does?
in the manga, yeah. In the manga, there's a noise coming from it. It's I think it's like a grrr sound effect.
Oh.
I don't know the kanji for it, but you can see the kanji for it. The kanji is like a backwards C with like 2 apostrophes above it.
Right. Was that the same sound effect we heard from? Because I know, of course, Zunisha didn't like do like the full trumpet thing like an elephant would, but like, yeah, I seem to remember Zunisha almost had the same sound effects, right?
I'm just looking for it at the moment. I can't say. Oh, okay. This actually,
Like a growl?
it's more just like the noise of a big figure.
Right, like a deep, like
Yeah, like just the like that. Sorry,
right.
just hang on. All right, I can't pull this up here, which is annoying me. Can I put that down there? No, I can't. Hang on. I'll just put it down in the Discord chat for a second as a link. Right? If you look at that image there side by side, you sort of see what I mean by like it looks like an older version of Zoe. But I think what's in the Florian Triangle, you know how like a bunch of ships go missing all the time and no one ever finds them?
Right.
I think the Florian Triangle is the natural the natural habitat for Zoe, and that's where the rest of its pod of elephants are. And,
Right.
And you can't see them because the smoke and the mist is so strong there that that's just where they're walking around.
Yeah, it would make sense too because of course if there's like a big elephant walking around, if it steps on you, your ship is gone, bro.
Yeah.
So that would make sense why hundreds of ships went missing before.
But it also explains why other people don't know about other giant elephants walking around. Because they're like in a dangerous part of the sea, which would be like underneath Sky Island where they can eat sky apples.
Right, and for the and it would make sense why nobody would really notice because Gecko Moria was there for like what 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
So after a while, especially with all the mist, as soon as one person seen Gecko Moria, and even he was kind of almost a legend when in the Florian Triangle because how misty it was.
Yeah.
Like the floating island ship is like almost a legend. So like they could have just attributed all of that to Gecko Moria instead of like, yeah, there's like giant elephants walking around out here.
Yeah.
It makes sense to me.
The only reason I say that is because Zoe's the only animal that we only know there's a single of at the moment.
Right.
Like the Sea Kings, even though they're giants, they're all over the place. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
what if Zunisha is just like from Long Ring Longland, but had like a genetic mutation or something to where he's like way bigger than anything else that's coming out of Long Ring Longland? because of course everything from uh from the island is like longer, and it's kind of the same with Zunisha, but Zunisha is like taller, like almost like Zunisha's on stilts.
It's possible, but I would say the counter to that is the creatures from Long Ring Longland, their faces are stretched out too.
That's true.
Whereas
I mean, you could say an elephant's face would be stretched out since it does have a trunk, but I get what you're saying.
yeah, like it's still it's
We
still
got some stretchy trunks over here.
what was that?
No, I'm just thinking of the stretchy trunk thing.
Yeah. I don't know, because there's still some like things left ambiguous. You know what I mean? Like that Flora and Triangle
Right.
thing, I could also see it never being explained, because it's
Yeah.
the point of it's being like there's at least one more mystery that we're never gonna answer. Good luck.
Right.
And I think that can like, okay. I found some with the sound effects, so it's goo 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 that's coming from the elephant or coming from the mist.
Right.
The reason, like, I think at the time that was definitely meant to invoke the Umibozu legend, especially with the eyes and that. But it's like, even still, the eyes that we see, it's like they aren't necessarily eyes as they are lights.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like you said, like there's no indicator of like how tall up they go or don't go, because of just how thick the mist is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also really important to think about like what was introduced immediately after that. Immediately after that, we went to Sabati, where we got introduced to the slave list that included minks, and we also met Beppo.
Right. Didn't we hit the red line before that though? Because didn't they
Yeah. So
make it to the they made it to the red line, and then they figured out they had to go to Sabaody to get their boat
ship coded.
coded, right?
But it's like from a thematic standpoint, it's like there's the potential of like the elephant being created at the same time that Oda's like, I'm introducing a mink and the concept of minks.
Right.
You know what I mean? Oh. I don't know though, because it could be him. Like I honestly don't have a like. I could see it going either way. It's just I don't know if they're even going to explain it in either way. If that makes sense.
I feel like even if Oda chooses to have it be a mystery for like, even if it isn't him and it's just a mystery of what it is, I feel like Oda still not 100%, but still might not explain, of course, but drop a few hints as to what it is.
Mm.
That way, like even after the story's over, you could still kind of piece together the different mysteries that say Oda didn't solve without him necessarily spelling it out for you. Like, yeah, this is like a Zunisha's or race or species. They're just out here in the Florian Triangle. He doesn't necessarily need to spell it out for us, but I feel like as long as he drops like a couple clues towards the end and throughout the story that you could pick up, I feel like that would be a good way to keep the mystery there, but
Yeah, I
still
I definitely agree with that.
solvable.
Also, I think that it's interesting as well. It's like speaking about picking up threads and continuing on with them. This chapter introducing like a potential new lethal version of Conqueror's Haki. I think that's very fitting going into Elbaf, the island that's like boasted as like the strongest island, but also we know that they do like the Ikuku sovereignties and stuff like that, which we've seen have advanced Conqueror's Haki attached to them. So Elbaf may be like the island of like Conqueror's Haki users to some extent.
Right.
Hence why it's like the war land, because all these conquerors users with different ideals battling over who's right, or like that sort of mindset. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I could definitely see I could definitely see us all going to Elbaf. We know that the law pirates are fleeing Winter Island, and the closest island is Elbaf to them, so they're heading to Elbaf. We've got Kid who got sunk at Elbaf, so the Straw Hats are going to meet up on Elbaf, have Law and Kid show up again, and it's going to be an island focusing on Conqueror's Haki.
Either Conqueror's Haki or hockey in general. Either that or
Kid
I feel
finally
like
be able to turn something black.
Ooh.
Huh?
Imagine that if the next person we meet with a black blade is the leader of the Giants.
Yo.
Is there any there has to be a famous sword in Norse mythology, right?
Looking that up now.
There's a few famous weapons. I can't seem to name any right now. I know there's
What if it's a
bunch of
spear?
like.
Because at the beginning of Wano, we got the rundown of like the Supreme Grade blades, and one of them was a spear.
Yeah.
Yo, what if it's Nika's spear that we seen him using in the snippet?
Yes! Yo! Imagine a giant with Nika's spear, and Nika stretched it out.
Yo, like some Sun Wukong type thing.
Yeah.
Yo. That would be lit.
I'm honestly so messed up at the moment with Elbaf has seemingly been Usopp's arc for so long, and the closer we're getting to it, the more I'm thinking it's going to be a more of a Zoro Kid arc.
Zoro and
I feel like
Kid?
it could.
Yeah.
It might just be a training arc in general because I feel like Luffy has. I don't want to say a lot, but like a couple instances of like sword or weapon imagery where he tries to use a sword, but he doesn't really succeed. And I feel like that's something he could really use, especially if he's planning on fighting Shanks, who has Griffin. I don't see that classic moment of Luffy's sandal meeting Griffin point blank. You know what I mean? I feel like Luffy's gonna have some sort of a buffer or a weapon or something to actually fight Shanks on that level. And I feel like Elbaf would be the best place for him to not only get a weapon, but have somebody like, say, Zoro teach him how to use the weapon, or even the Elbaf Giants.
What if instead of that, Luffy shapeshifts his fist into different weapon shapes like a hammer?
Yo, that would be pretty cool.
So
Like some Sandman type thing. That would be amazing.
we had his El Thor attack. Oh, sorry, his Gum Gum Thorax, which was like his foot attack with the lightning.
Right.
What if Vegapunk expresses to him what his ability is? He's able to turn his fist into the shape of a hammer, and you get the Gum Gum Mjolnir.
Yo, that would be cool. But at the same time, I feel like if anybody wields any version of
Usopp?
Mjolnir, yeah, it should be Usopp. Because number one, he has a lot of hammer imagery already, and number two, if Oda's say inspired by the Marvelized version of Mjolnir, he can add on the worthiness oath, because of course that's not in the original Norse mythology. The only reason Thor was able to use it in the OG Eddas was because he was the only one who could use it. He's the only one who could pick it up and wield it and fight with it. But if Oda goes more Marvel with it, I could definitely see Usopp, it like at least his bravery being shown to himself, because I already see Usopp as one of the bravest in the crew, because he's like a normal human going out and fighting like gods,
No,
you know. So I feel like that would prove his bravery to himself. Go ahead.
Sorry. I just wanted to add on to your point. A lot of people make the mistake of viewing fearlessness to be the same as bravery.
Yeah.
In terms of what Zoro, Sanji, and Luffy have, that's fearlessness.
Bravery is overcoming your fear.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not
Even
it's
though
not
you're afraid, you're
putting
still
yourself
standing
in
there. And...
deliberate danger either. That's also a really big one,
Right.
If you
right? Like,
if you were to say like if you were to just come out of nowhere and come up with one more Logia to include in the series, what is the last Logia you could see being introduced?
One more Logian.
Because
Logia.
I think the ruler of Elbath is gonna have a Logia. I don't know what it is. I just have this strong feeling that they have a Logia.
Can it be a mythical Logia?
Define a mythical Logia.
I don't know. I was shooting in the dark there.
The reason being is because Hajrudin thought he would be able to become the next strongest giant if he got the Meramera no Mi.
Yeah, it's kind of wild actually.
So I feel like he thought he needed that to combat whatever the strongest giant currently has.
I feel like the only Logia we're missing is the water fruit. And that might be an impossibility in considering the devil fruit's weakness.
Well, that's
Because I
assuming
can't.
Dragon's got like the Win-Win fruit.
Right.
Wind and gas. Woods. I mean, we've got stuff close to it, but you could just have the Earth Logia. Where it's just like, where it's like just soil and ground and that. I know it's very similar to Pika and
No, but no, that's okay because there's plenty of devil fruits that are already like each other. Like take it like. To be honest, actually, I want to see more female characters with Logia devil fruits because I think we only have
one.
Monet,
Yeah.
who's dead. Yeah, she's the only canon character who's ever actually had a Logia devil fruit who's who's a female.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Monet.
Yeah, Monet, who actually ended up getting killed by Caesar of all people. I mean, that's really rubbing salt in the wound.
Oh, did Caesar do her in, or did Caesar just like weaken her enough for her to get blown up?
I mean, either or, Caesar led her to her demise.
What would be
Well,
hilarious is if
consider that a no.
Virgo survived and he's cut up in chunks and he went full body Haki when the explosion happened, and he's still just stuck there with Law's ability waiting for someone to come get him.
Bruh.
Think about how torturous that would be.
Well, I mean, considering what the stuff that Virgo did, maybe that would be a suitable punishment.
Suitable punishment? Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I just wish we actually had an explanation as to how everything sticks to Virgo's face.
It's cause that man. I reckon it's solely because of static electricity from his beard.
You think his beard is that zingy?
Yeah. I reckon he's got that thick, beautiful, luscious type of hair that just builds up a static charge and stuff just gets stuck to it because of it.
What if that's how like the minks use their electric shock? They just like rub their feet on the grass really fast and then like they touch you.
Zap. They get mad voltages though. We've seen people's skeletons because of them.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
That's always how I imagined it working though. When we first seen it, I just figured like they have fur on them, so like they're just getting static electricity from the fur. But after I thought about it for like 2 seconds longer, it just falls apart.
Wait, if that was the case, wouldn't any zone that has fur be able to use electro?
Yeah, I would think so, yeah. Has Chopper used any electro?
No.
Like even when he used his like rumble balls in the beginning?
That's actually one of the sad parts of that short arc that I was actually hoping for Chopper, in that he would actually gain something like that.
Don't get me. Chopper is forgotten. Chopper's forgotten. He's been abandoned. He couldn't help smile users, right? He didn't even give it a freaking shot. To be fair,
I know.
Right.
No, I'm serious. He just left Toko to freaking
uh,
cry. I swear, that's so sad. Like, you're a doctor.
I'm okay. No, I'm now super excited for Elbaf, right? Because they're gonna get to Elbaf, right? And I'm just praying. I got my fingers crossed for this, right? We're gonna have a scene in the in like the forest and that, and a giant just like there's a little child giant running away, and it like gets like cut down. And we're like, oh, what's that? And you've just got Killer walking around singing to himself, "Psycho Killer, fa 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 fa."
Jeebus.
I now need that. I love how Oda made that his laugh though. That is so amazing, but also such an fu. That's the thing though. Chopper needs to be able to cure those illnesses or synthesize something to take back devil fruit abilities.
Wait.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You said synthenize. For a second, I thought you said euthanize. I'm like, Jesus.
What solution?
I'm talking about Chopper, not
Sorry.
the Gorosei here, right?
I completely misheard. That's why I went silent for a second. I thought you said euthanize.
Lunarians, you need to keep your flames up, otherwise you're gonna get sterilized or euthanized by the Gorosei. They're coming in. They want you gone.
Yeah, see, like, again, oh my gosh, I'm gonna start critiquing One Piece after such an amazing discussion over 10
Ooh! Yo, okay, the Valkyries. Valkyries, right?
Oh yeah.
Right? Imagine us getting to Elbaf and finding out there's a small tribe of female Lunarians left.
Ooh, that would be interesting.
And they're just
Like, to say
coinciding.
the least.
Yeah. That would be cool, would it not?
Yeah, and then weren't the
And then King
Valkyries
finds
like
love
high
and
up?
turns into a good guy.
What was that?
Huh?
Oh no! Then King finds his good love, and then he becomes a good guy. He repents all that he's ever done.
I don't know. At the moment, King is like a
Easy shonen.
Green Bull took that man's life out of him. Right? He took that man's life force.
I mean, I could see him coming back, but the only one I really see coming back is like Queen, considering we got like this Shinobu effect going on.
Skinny Queen making an appearance. Would he be like a flying squirrel? Jumps in the air and the excess fat floats him away. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like at this point in time, since we know we're going to Elbaf, I'm like super keen for everything that's happening on Egghead, but at the same point in time, I'm also now like, oh shit, what's gonna happen next?
That's pretty much everything, man. Like, this is how you keep a series alive.
That's not even talking about the fact, like, you know how I brought up earlier about the Diablo Jambe looking legs that Saturn has? What if this man in this big ass crab spider form just starts shaving and kicking people, and it's got like the Ifrit Jambe effects?
Yo, that would be lethal. He uses like the finger pistol, but with like the claw, like the little claw.
Yo, we're gonna get an Ace 2.0. Ace
Yo.
Seraphim comes out of nowhere for 2 seconds just to get impaled.
Don't disrespect Ace like that, man. That's not good. That's not funny, man.
Do you reckon we're making it to Ace's grave at all?
I feel like at least one panel, because of course we're as soon as they make it to the One Piece, I don't feel like Oda's gonna be like, okay, yeah, last chapter. There's gonna be a few wind down chapters, and I feel like they would have to be going back, going to the islands they've already visited, sharing their stories, getting whatever they need to get, and like ultimately going home, going to Logtown, whatever happens. Because of course, Logtown is both the beginning and end point of the Great Pirate Era. So yeah, I definitely feel like we would end up going back at some point, even if it's at the very end of the story.
Because where Ace and Whitebeard are buried at the moment, it's only within one or two
Oh.
islands from where we are now.
I was kind of hoping Luffy would be heading to Sphinx Island, but like post Wano and then Egghead and then Elbaf, but of course we didn't get that, and I honestly have no complaints, but
Oh, yo. Nah, never mind. It won't happen. It can't happen. It can't happen. Never mind.
Why?
I just thought Law's trying to leave Winter Island. Instead of making it to Elbaf, he washes up on Sphinx Island, and he's lost his crew. He's devastated, asking Marco for help, and Marco's like, do you know what? I got this thing that's going on. I'll help you if you can go free this kid called Edward Weevil for me." And we get Law break into Impel Down because he can just room through. Right? And then I was like, oh, and he just frees all of the people in Impel Down. And then I was like, oh, wait, he's not freeing Doflamingo. There's no fucking way that's happening.
Yeah, there's no way. Do you feel like Doflamingo will ever break out, or do you think he's just done? Like he's like a done plot point at this point.
I think he gets out when everyone breaks out of Impel Down. He's him being representative of the Antichrist or of Jesus Christ, like however you want to spin it, says to me, you know how they're like in like the Revelations or whatever, whenever it's like supposed to be the end of the world, Jesus Christ will rise again.
Right.
I think it's something like that, where it's like he will rise up to talk some shit and give exposition on the Gorosei and the Celestial Dragons. That's his.
I kind of want another Doflamingo speech, like on par with what he said at Marineford. That would be good.
Even if it's
Because go ahead.
even if it's that they need to get him to be a guide for them in Marineford.
Right.
Oh, sorry, in Marijua. I don't know. It'll be something interesting like that. Something weird. It's always something weird.
Definitely.
Alright. We've been going for 4 hours. I'm happy to wrap up there if you guys are.
Yep.
Yeah,
no,
I'm happy
good.
to wrap up right here.
Anyone got any last words that they want to say? Or any last things they want to bring up?
Honestly, not really. I feel like this was a very, very good discussion.
I will.
Yeah, I think we've talked about basically everything that needed addressed.
I'll leave it with the most important things. Kizaru's not done. Bonnie for Straw Hat. Saturn looks like the leader from Monsters. Bloody. What is it? Sully and Mike Wazowski. Monsters Inc. Saturn's just a big dude from
the
Monsters Inc.
boss.
Yeah, 100%. He needs more screams. That's what Saturn's.
Leave it with the most important subject. That beard is definitely spider eggs.
with how sacky it looks.
Yeah. It looks exactly like just a clump of spider eggs, bro.
Again, though, imagine if Blackbeard gets that fruit. Imagine seeing that with Blackbeard's beard. And you know how, like in mythology, like in not mythology, in like history, Blackbeard used to like light his beard on fire to see the smoke.
Right.
That's the Neo cloud floating around him.
Oh.
So you got the big bushy black beard, but it's also floating and smoking around him, right? And imagine with these.
And then you hear just like little spiders screaming and like running out of the beard while it's on fire.
And imagine him with these spider legs, using the darkness and the quake with them.
Yo.
It'd be pretty terrifying, wouldn't it?
The only problem I see with that is it's not really a problem. It's more of a practicality thing with Oda drawing a fight scene. It kind of seemed hard to draw a fight between like Luffy and a giant spider. You know what I mean?
I mean,
But at the same time, I can see Oda making it work. Oda's made a lot work that you'd say like I didn't think you could make Kaido like look good in animation because just how bulky he is, how muscular. It's like that's gonna look cheesy when it's in movement. Then you get Toei like doing their thing, and it's like, oh yeah, you know what? It works. Maybe we could get the same thing with Oda.
Oda's best thing is him making non-humanoid looking things behave humanoid. Like his
Right.
the best part about his art style is you never really look at it and think it doesn't have it seems like okay, that makes sense that it can move that way. It never has wrong movement.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like he does a pretty good job like keeping the anatomy and the framing of these sorts of characters pretty on point.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. That being said, that was chapter 1094 live discussion. Do you guys want to say goodbye?
Of course.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Goodbye,
See you
all.
all around.
I'm sure we'll all probably, if we're available, get back next week, considering there's no break this week, and I'm definitely excited to see the greatness that will be chapter 1095 of One Piece, especially since we're only 5 chapters away from 1100. Holy shit, that has gone quick. I remember when we were all super excited for chapter 1000.
Yeah, exactly.
And then get ready for a break because we're hitting a number 5 halfway.
Get ready for 5 more years of One Piece, at least. I hope.
Stops 5 years.
We need to restart the counter. 25 more years.
What's that Les Miserables song? One day more.
I hope Oda just like forgets how to count. 5, 10, 20. Yeah, it's gonna go until it goes. We're gonna hit space spiders next.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got magic teleporting spiders.
Yo, if not, this is just one last sidebar. You know how I've been saying just in the background for a little while that Haki at some point is gonna need to showcase something to deal with people in other dimensions?
Right.
Because of like people like Bluno and stuff like that with the Dodo fruit.
Right.
If it turns out that this pentagram is actually made out of pure Haki and is a Haki ability, even though that makes no sense, right? And you can just teleport with Haki, I'm just calling it now. This shit is wild.
Yeah.
That being said, nothing but love, nothing but respect. Have a damn good day. Goodbye, everybody. Catch you next time.